You are about to witness history in the making.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Pop Culture Gamers podcast, and this is for 2026. This is take 2 of our podcast. Unfortunately, Steve is not here with us today. There's been a bit of a mix-up about whether or not we were recording or not. However, I am joined by Ian from Gaming Generations. Welcome, Ian.
Thanks for having me, Hayden.
And we'll do more of an introduction very shortly, which is Paul, who is joining us as a new co-host for the Pop Culture Gamers podcast. So, Ian, what's been going on with you, mate?
Not a great deal. I was a bit disappointed last year, Hayden, because I only finished 16 games. So I have rectified that this year. I'm going to finish a lot more games because I need content for my own podcast, the Game Generation podcast, listeners, just to get a shameless plug right in at the beginning of the episode.
Spoiler alert.
So as you know, I've had a pretty severe Destiny addiction since about 2019.
Yes.
I have uninstalled Destiny. I am no longer pursuing that cow and putting all of my spare pennies into it for cosmetics to look like Boba Fett. And it's time to play some other games. Like, I have a lot of games on my backlog that I've paid 50, 60, 70 quid for. I thought, I need to actually play these. Some of these games I've not even got installed on my system. I thought, what am I doing? I've got 180 gigs worth of space there now that Destiny's gone. Let's just play some games. So since beginning of January, I've committed to like a game a week. And I finished a game a week, and some of them were pretty beefy. So we get to games we played, won't we? But other than that, I don't watch a lot of TV. I've literally committed to games. I got my my partner an Xbox handheld for Christmas, the Xbox Rogue Ally. So she has now discovered the joys of PC gaming and how many awesome little indie horror games there are for multiplayer. So we pretty much play horror multiplayer games every single night now, and we don't really watch TV. We'll leave it to my daughter to put Disney Plus on in the background while we play games, but I'll get to a particular one we're playing when we do our what we've been playing later.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds really good. And presumably Gaming Generations, you'll be releasing some more shows very shortly, because I know that is it your
100th episode. So last Sunday was our 91st episode. So yeah, we're getting close to the 100 episodes. Thought I'd be done after 7 episodes here, and to be honest with you, I thought this is never going to last, still never take off. But I think once you get that bug, Paul, you probably know a bit about this. You get that podcast bug, and you just feel like, I just need to talk to some blokes about games and movies and whatever. Like, we do a football show to get the football supporters on as well. So we do a wide range. I'd love to do a WWE show, but nobody watches wrestling apart from me. Yeah. That is a hobby that is looked on like you have leprosy. Even gaming's more accepted than being a wrestling fan. But yeah, we cover a wide spectrum, but yeah, 100 episodes, been a ride. Met some good people. Obviously, Sam recorded with you, Hayden, as well. A few episodes there. It's just been brilliant. I don't think I could not do it now.
Yeah. No, I must admit, because we haven't done one on a regular basis for a couple of years, which hopefully we're going to rectify now. I've really missed it. Because you know what it's like. If your friends, your day-to-day friends that you see every day don't do gaming, you need to talk to somebody about stuff. So, this is like one of the only outlets that you can really kind of get. So it's really nice to just sort of like have that sort of, shared experience, really.
I think when you're like an older gentleman like we are as well, no offense, guys. I think it's like it's a little outlet, isn't it? Because I don't socialize that much outside, so like my own home. Really, I don't go out, I don't drink or anything like that. I play video games, I watch movies, I hang out with my daughter. So this is like kind of my go to the pub on a weekend kind of thing. This talking with you guys, it's like a little, I don't know, just your little break from life, just sit in front of your computer screen and talk to random people that you've only known for 5 minutes and get to know them and make friends for life, which I have done doing my show. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and because I am the oldest one in the room, evidently. and you're the youngest, Ian. So there you go. You know, it's like we're spanning, a decade or so between us. But yeah, it's really good to do these shows, definitely. So, Paul, welcome again to your
Thank you.
your second actual recording, which we lost the first because Teams didn't finish recording. So we're now using Riverside to record this. Welcome back to the podcast, Paul. So obviously you've got some experience because you've been on the Year of Shame podcast, but do you want to just tell the listeners about who you are and what your gaming history is?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a big gaming fan. I was born in the early 1970s, which is pretty much suggests I've lived through pretty much all of it, really, all the way from Pong up to present day, really, from the original games. You used to see in the pubs such as Space Invaders and Breakout and all those kind of things, and Centipede. I used to enjoy playing those as a kid, going to the seaside and playing the old Star Wars arcade machine, the 3D one, which was actually pretty mind-blowing in the day. I used to go to Blackpool every now and again. You'd sit in the one with the big cabinet. You could sit in it and you had your little yoke and everything, for doing the controlling. And that was pretty mind-blowing, with sound effects and everything else.
With the
graphics. Yeah, vector graphics, yeah, but back then vector graphics were amazing. I mean, and the speed at which it all came at you, it was definitely a step up from Space Invaders. It was a generational leap, really. So been into that, got into computers and stuff through being at school. Used to enjoy going around to a friend's house. He introduced me to his ZX Spectrum, which he'd just been bought, very lucky. He got a 16K ZX Spectrum, and from that moment on, really, after playing Jetpack and watching it load and stuff, I was absolutely, guaranteed to be a gamer for life. I think it was absolutely mind-blowing. And I saw that in September and managed to convince parents to get me a ZX Spectrum for Christmas that year, which is, quite a big buy back in the day, a 48K Spectrum. I mean, we couldn't afford, say, the Commodore 64 or the Atari VCS. They're just too expensive, really. I mean, and the good thing with the Spectrum, you could use your own old tape recorder, which you've probably had for a couple of years. It was a past Christmas present. And you've obviously got a little bit, maybe a little black and white TV in your room or such I actually played my ZX Spectrum on black and white for probably about 3 years. So, but yeah, it all worked and it didn't really matter at the time. But yeah, then moved on to Atari, the Atari 800 XL and Commodore Amigas and all the rest of it. So, but yeah, I've been into it for years and years and years. Got all the consoles: PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Steam Decks, PC. Although it's technically in bits is the PC, because I just haven't got any incentive to come in and actually play it in the office, because my office is full of PC parts, because I buy and sell computer parts for a living. So it's a little bit like a brain drain to come in here and actually sit down and actually play any PC games. Plus the games console, you turn it on, you press a button, you play the game. You go to play a PC game, you're going to do some configuring, some updating, some whatever. And by the time you've done that, you've probably given up and ready to go to bed. So yeah, but yeah, massive gamer. Love all my movies as well. And like you were saying, originally did a podcast for a year, Year of Shame Challenge 13 with my co-host Ben and Brian. And bit of a shout out to those guys. They're on to doing season 14 now. And Brian, he's decided to do an extra year, and he's got 2 new co-hosts, Rich and Stuart. They've just released their latest episode. It's well worth a listen. Good guys. So yeah, give it a listen.
Yeah, good stuff. Just as a question, because obviously, Paul, you said about you started off on the Spectrum. Ian, I don't know if this is something that appeals to you, but what do you think about these retro consoles like the Spectrum?
I think they look nice.
Yeah.
But my issue with retro gaming is I think the novelty wears off very quickly. I have 5 minutes of an old game that I used to love when I was 4. I mean, I started off on an Atari 2600 back when I was 4, playing The Empire Strikes Back. That was my first console. And I think I like the idea of retro gaming, put it into practice. I think games have evolved so much since we were kids. Obviously, we're all, like I said, we're all men of age. We've seen it all, haven't we, guys? We probably saw an Amiga back in the late 80s and thought, games ain't ever get any better than this. They'll never look better than this. Or 57 discs worth of Monkey Island 2. How's it ever going to improve? And we get to this point in our lives and we're absolutely spelled out by what we get. Paul, I've got every console: Xbox, PS5, Switch 2, got a handheld PC, got the lot. And with all those new games, why would I go back and play something from the Spectrum? I know there's connoisseurs out there that love retro gaming, but it isn't something that I'm personally into.
What about you, Paul?
the nostalgia factor is quite amazing. I do subscribe to a couple of YouTube channels. One where there's a guy, he releases, he used to do it every week, but it's now like once a month now. He does like I think it's literally called like The Spectrum Show. And he plays a couple of games. He does a couple of old type-ins from magazines. And the nostalgia value, I'll sit there and watch that. I'll happily watch a guy play some of these new Spectrum games that are being released, where they're being programmed with more modern, modern techniques and whatever, so they get a little bit more out of the Spectrum. But I can watch them, but actually going back and playing a game, I don't often get the feel or the need to go do it. I probably like to go back and play older PC games that I haven't completed from, say, like 2013 or 2012. Once you start to go a little bit further back than that, I don't know, things start to feel sometimes a little bit clunky unless it's an absolute classic game. Some games do stand the test of time, say like the BioShock games and such like. Some of them you could put on in maybe another 5 or 10 years' time and it'll still feel like you're playing like a new game. They're so well made. But nostalgia-wise, I probably watch more on YouTube than I would actually play. But yeah, I do enjoy it. The interest is still there and the memories are still great.
Yeah, I must admit, the only reason why I ask is because I've been quite tempted by the Spectrum, because I never had a Spectrum when I was growing up. But then I keep starting looking at the games and I think, yeah, the Commodore 64 was definitely a better machine. But I've also put my money down to buy a Commodore 64 Ultimate, because I don't know whether or not you guys know, but if you watch Retro Recipes, which is hosted by a guy called Perry Fractic. He's a British guy, but he lives in California. And he's bought out Commodore, and it's the first new official Commodore 64 to be released in 30 years or something or other like that. And the first batch of them have all gone out. They went out at Christmas, which I didn't buy one then. But I've just, as time has gone on, I thought, no, I've got to have one of these, got to relive this. And it's fully hardware compatible backwardly with the original Commodore 64. You can literally put your tape deck in and play your games from tape or your 1541 floppy drive.
Well, have you got your nostalgia glasses on you though, Hayden? Because are you going to sit and wait 30 minutes for Golden Axe to load on a tape deck?
No, in reality, I'm going to use the ROMs that I've already got recorded and just load those games straight on. I have no intention of loading from tape again. But it's a recreation of the Bread Bin 64.
You mentioned an interesting point, though, about waiting 30 minutes for a game to load. I mean, a Spectrum game will probably on average about, say, 5 to 10 minutes or whatever, but that's an incentive to keep playing it. If it takes 30 minutes to load, you're more likely to keep playing it. When you put your ROMs on, you might go through maybe 20 ROMs in maybe, I'm not saying you will do, but you potentially could go through 20 ROMs in 20 minutes. Oh no, that's rubbish. Oh no, that's rubbish. That's not as good as I remember. Where if you sat there and waited 30 minutes, you might actually sit and play it.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, the hardware looks amazing. They've released 3 versions of it. They've released the Starlight version, which sort of is a clear case but with RGB inside the box. I didn't like that one. They've released a gold one where all of the keys are gold and then the case is like a see-through yellow gold that's illuminated. Again, I didn't like that one either. But I've just gone for the plain old beige one that is a proper recreation of the original Commodore 64. The only difference is that the I/O port, instead of being the old I/O or expansion slot, which was never really used, instead of that, it's got a USB, 2 USB drives and ports and Ethernet ports so that you can connect to bulletin boards and stuff like that from it. But it looks, everybody's been raving about it who's actually had one. But yeah, I started to get a bit of FOMO on that, so I thought, no, I'm going to have one of those.
This screams Magpie, and I see a shiny thing behind this. You say it does all this stuff, but it's going to sit on a shelf and look pretty. That's what it's going to do.
Yeah, probably for the most. But there are some old games on the Commodore 64 which I would love to play again.
Sometimes with those things, it's just as well to sit on the shelf though, because it can go up in value.
Yeah.
You don't open that and maybe in 5 years' time, they could be worth loads of money.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've had the recreation of the minis with there's been a mini Amiga, there's been the Nintendo consoles and stuff like that. The Atari, which I've got one of these and I do play it, Atari 2600 and 7800 pluses, which play the original cartridges, modern insides, and have HDMI out and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that is like the ultimate. That'd have been something you'd have lusted over in a Commodore 64 magazine back in the day, to have the disk drive and all the best accessories to go with it. I mean, like you say, it's like the ultimate edition. And plus then things that they make them in relatively limited numbers. And sometimes potentially the cost of making that and potentially all the tooling and all the rest of it to be able to produce even the case and the keys, to make it look like the real thing as well. They might even be making a loss on those things. So if you don't get one now, I'm not trying to sell it on you, but if you don't get one now, you might even miss out because they can't afford to make any more because they didn't sell enough. It's a bit of a vicious circle. They sell out the first lot. They didn't make any money. The second lot, they might make some money on, and it's not worth making a third lot.
yeah, well, I mean, hopefully they won't go like that, and we'll see Commodore coming back, because there is a massive scene on the retro, gaming market in terms of people who are modding old equipment, because I think one of the next ones that they'll do, hopefully, will be the Amiga, which was such an important part of my, teenage years of being a gamer, because that and the Atari ST it wasn't really a war, what the Atari ST had like the spears, and the Amiga had tanks. So it was a bit of a whitewash, but probably alienated all the Atari ST fans now.
I saw somebody, in fact, it was a friend of mine, punch an Atari ST owner due to the debate they were having over what were best, because it used to be a computer club. They used to meet in Bradford, and there'd be ST one side and Amiga the other side. Some of them would bring the computers home, and it'd be an ex-copy party or whatever the equivalent is on ST. And they basically hated each other. It was like they come from two different countries, like Germany v England in like 1945. You know what I mean? They absolutely despised each other with a vengeance because he had an ST and he had an Amiga.
Yeah.
So,
It's a bit like Xbox and Sony, though, isn't it?
It's that unreported type of hooliganism in it. The football fans are the worst, but those Amiga and Atari ST fans are just as bad, clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. It can get vicious. I mean, you can say, don't get me wrong, I do prefer Sony. I always have preferred Sony. And if I'm going to buy a game, it will be on Sony. But I've never really sort of had a hatred for Xbox. I'll appreciate what they've got. But you look in some of them Facebook groups and such like, there's plenty of, ribbing and stuff going off and hating each other. It's a bit silly, really, but that's part of the fun, I guess. It's tribal, isn't it? We're just tribal.
And at the end of the day, we're all gamers, and let's face it, now that the time of exclusives that is not on Nintendo is basically over.
Yeah, exclusivities. It doesn't. I mean, soon we're not even going to really need to buy a console because streaming's going to get so fast. I mean, if you do some of the streaming on your PlayStation or your Xbox, just for the sake of just giving it a shot, it's surprisingly good. Totally playable. So,
well, I mean, the Portal, that's a total streaming device, and you don't even need to have your console on to stream for it. And, I often play on that.
Portal, I'm trying to think, what's a Portal? Have I got a Portal? You're on about the Sony one, the handheld? Yeah. So that's one of them that I haven't got, because I've got a Steam Deck. You can pretty much stream to that in any case. So it's like virtually the same kind of thing, really. But I think you can only stream from your console as opposed to from the cloud. I could be wrong, because it might have advanced a little bit as well.
Yeah. The Steam Deck, you can broadcast from any other Steam-enabled piece of equipment. But the Portal, you can either do it from your PlayStation or you can do it from the games if you're on PlayStation Plus, whatever. Premium.
Yeah.
That allows you to do streaming, and you don't actually have to have your console on to stream to it at all.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? I mean, this is where it's all going to be heading soon. Soon you'll be paying. You're just going to flick it over like a satellite channel. You'll be on the Sony channel. You'll be on the Xbox channel. It's just going to be that kind of thing. And they'll do some kind of thing to the actual data where they can streamline it so much where it'd be minuscule, and we're about to play from there,
What do you guys think about the price hikes with
Yeah, I'm predominantly an Xbox user as well, so like the Game Pass increase was a bit of a kick. The £24 a month is a little bit too much for any subscription service. in my opinion. Thankfully, I game share with my friends, so we'll split it regardless of what we do. But I was getting it for £14 through EE, and that's stuck at the same price for a few months. But now that's gone up as well, so I've cancelled that, and I'm gonna have to just shop around month to month to try and get a decent price because I use Game Pass a lot. So, like we said about the streaming thing, I stream Game Pass games on my Legion Go using their cloud streaming. So yeah, I don't know. Where does it end? Like the PlayStation yearly subscription's so high as well. You think, what's it, £30 a month for like the premium on PlayStation these days? Am I right there?
No, just the PlayStation Plus Premium. I've just renewed for 120 quid.
Is that for the year?
Yeah.
So I don't use PS Plus. I only buy single player games on the PlayStation. So like, I'll buy like an exclusive on it, and that's it. The PlayStation only gets turned on for exclusives.
Yeah, I mean, these ways and means, I'm a tight-fisted Yorkshireman and I'll never deny it. But when it comes to your Xbox, Game Pass, etc., the ultimate one, they started doing the 9p deal again, but it's only lasts for like 2 weeks. So, and as you probably know, if you have an Xbox account on there that has premium, all your other accounts on the same system get the benefits of premium. So, I mean, maybe it's not so good for when you're streaming, if you're going to do the cloud streaming, but you could just go on there. I mean, there's a gap in between me gaming, sometimes might be 2 weeks or a week or so. If you went and did the 9p trick on Xbox Ultimate every 2 weeks or whenever you needed to use it, you could do it for, I don't know, what is it, 24 quid for the year maximum? You just need a new Gmail account, PayPal, done, straight in, job done.
Never working for Hayden out of his achievements on his current account. He's never moved away from that gamer score.
Yeah,
no, it doesn't.
Away from that gamer score, no way.
No, but it don't matter though, because how can you say? Because the Game Pass is on the other account, it transfers across to any account that's on that same system.
Oh, so you're just logging in with a different account every time and having the two logged in at the same time, so they can both use. Yeah. I get you. Yeah,
99 pence, right, for 2 weeks. That's what it used to be. 1 month, as you probably know, it used to be 99p for 1 month, and now you can get the Ultimate now for 99p again. So for them to be cheekily charging you like 24 quid, that's a scam. I mean, another thing that I do, for example, the PlayStation Premium, I opened a Very account years ago, which is like a catalogue thing. I don't really use it. I only opened it because at the time, I don't know if you've ever opened a Very account, but your first order will give you like a massive discount, like say 30% off of anything you want. Now, if you are buying a games console, you ain't getting 30% off of anywhere. There's not even a 30% markup in a games console, even brand new. If you're getting a Switch 2 or whatever, just open up a Very account. And so I paid it straight off. I had no intention of paying any credit. So about every so many months, they'll send you a letter in the post saying, well done, your balance is currently zero. They send you an incentive, and they'll say £50 off an £100 order. And you can actually buy, unlike sometimes it's got different terms and conditions, but you can actually buy, it says on here, try to reconnect. I'm not sure if it's lost me there.
No, you still are.
Yeah. So basically you can actually buy your PSN vouchers on there, like your credits. So like for 100, you could go get a 100 quid voucher, get a 50 quid discount, and then you can use that 50 quid, add that to your account. And then every sort of Christmas, they do a sale on the PlayStation Premium. So you can end up paying as little as say like 70 quid for it, because you've got it cheap, your credit to begin with, and you're getting a discount as well on it. So you've just got to kind of be tight with it really and look at ways around it, because they're out to pick your pocket right now. It's like the advantage of buying physical games, of course, is you can buy, you guys, I know you like, I know Aidan does, I'm not sure about Ian, but Aidan likes to keep them. I don't. I would rather buy it, play it, resell it. You know what I mean? I'd rather get my money back out of it, because it's only going to go down in price, generally speaking, unless you keep it sealed and it's like Mario First Edition or something. Generally speaking, it's only going to go down in price. You've only got to look at what some of the PS3 games are worth now and some of the early PS4 games. They're never going to go, well, I can't say they'll never go up in price. In another 20 years' time, they're definitely going to go up in price.
Fully digital, me. Don't buy any games hard copy.
No, I mean, games start to get disc rot in them as well.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, digital's fantastic. I do like digital because, like anybody else, technically I'm lazy. It can be too much trouble for me to get up off the sofa and to go 12 foot in the other direction and put a disc in or change the disc over. I'll sometimes say, I can't bother, I'll just turn it off. You know what I mean? And that's just born idleness. Obviously, there's quite a few digital games I have because I have the subscription, and every month you get an X amount of freebie games. Well, they're not really freebie, you've got to pay for them, technically speaking, but you have got a back catalogue of digital games. So, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the games, like, for example, recently they had Harry Potter one, Hogwarts Legacy, Legend, whatever it is. they had that one on like everything. You know, that it was Epic was giving it away and Great Old Games was giving it away, so you can pick it up for nothing. So yeah, why not get rid of your console version
And
because you got it on PC still if you want to play it. Complete it on whatever platform that you've got it on disc, and then yeah. I must admit, it's been something I've been thinking about doing, to be honest.
my only bugbear that breaks my heart, and it's my biggest upset about all these having all these different systems, is the lack of cross save, universal cross save across all them different formats. I mean, people would double dip on some games. You know, like if you came out on Nintendo, they're going on holiday and they've got it on PlayStation, there might be double dip. They'll buy it on Nintendo as well, take it on holiday so they can continue playing it and such like. You know, so
you're talking to a quadruple dripper.
Exactly.
Same.
But that's the problem. I mean, that's what puts me off spending more, because it's like even the Steam Deck. You can play GOG games on it. You can play what's the other one? Epic games on there as well. But you've got to mess around, and also it might not do the syncing of the cloud saves. And my other second biggest bugbear is restarting a game. If I lose my save, that's just a nightmare for me. I hate losing my save game on anything. So yeah, it's just a bit of a shame, really. Do more cross saves, and they'll sell more games.
Well, things like Assassin's Creed, they are cross save.
Yeah,
Cyberpunk
Ubisoft
as well,
are good
recently.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk has cross save, so
Yeah,
CD Projekt Red throw it in their games. It's on the developers that though. Like if they want to add that as a function, then. But yeah, I mean, I'm a king of double dipping on consoles. I had no reason to buy Cyberpunk on PlayStation and Xbox, but here we are.
yeah. I mean, technically, that isn't a lot of difference from that. I would like, for example, to get my hands on like the Switch version of certain games, because I like to see how they run. Technically, it comes from probably like being a Spectrum owner, where you've watched it throughout the years, the game's progressing and getting better and better and better. So you like to see what they can do with the hardware and how much they can squeeze out of it. That's usually why I like to maybe have a little double dip. And sometimes on PC, you'll see the game for like 9p or £1.99. It almost becomes a why not, you know? So as I suppose, do I need it? You know?
Not to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even the GOG games, man. I mean, I've got an alarm set on the phone. I don't know about you guys. Every Thursday, it goes off at 5:30. Says, not GOG, Epic games go on there. But there's also Amazon Prime Gaming. They give away a load of free games as well. There's that one as well. The amount of free games, you could have a year of free gaming. Literally, just, I'm not going to buy any games. I'm just going to play whatever comes out, for free this year, regardless of knowing what's even coming. That'd be an interesting one to do.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But, say it's one of those things when you're on a PC, they throw games at you in a lot of different ways, and you don't need to buy anything at all sometimes. I know that this has been going on for years, but I've just found out about Steam DB and the fact that they have a page on there which tells you what games are free at any one given time. And so I've just started downloading those as well, just in case I miss a good game.
Well, yeah. That can sometimes be the problem with PlayStation. Your freebie games, sometimes you have missed them good games. I generally, I read a lot of Hot UK deals, so they're always pumping it on there when the new month comes out or whatever. So you kind of like reminded, oh yeah, it's coming up soon. Make sure you've already claimed your games this month, because once that month's gone and you haven't claimed them, they're gone.
Yeah, that's true. Does Xbox still do the free games?
Games of Gold? No.
No, I didn't think they did.
No, totally dissolved in the Game Pass about a couple of years ago now.
Yeah, it's a shame, because I thought I haven't got any free games from Xbox for a long time, and then they just, I couldn't remember on that one way or the other. But that was a shame. But I think that Game Pass, personally, I think it's just a rip-off at the amount that it is now.
Yeah. But that's the problem. It's like with anything, when it comes out, they've got to attract the customer base. And that's what it was. That's the honey for the bees, right? So they're going to, but it probably shows what kind of state the company's in if they've got to try to charge 20. It's almost a bad sign.
I think if you're going to get your money's worth from it, it's worth it. Like my co-host, Harry, he spent £27 last year on games, that's it, and just played Game Pass games for the whole year and finished 22, 23 games, I think when we covered it. So if you're going to get your money's worth out of it and you are open to trying games that you wouldn't normally play, I think it is worthwhile. I finished a Game Pass game this month that would have cost me £30 to buy. So it depends if you can commit and just like, oh, I'll try this and give this a go. And you might like it, you might not, but if you can get your money's worth out of it, it's worth it. But so much of our backlogs, it's hard to get that money's worth, I think.
Yeah, and also they keep changing the games out as well. And if you just picked up a game, when it's getting towards the end, then you've got to wait for it to come back on the Game Pass as well, or buy it, one or the other.
Another thing they get you with as well is that they only ever seem to give you, say, like the basic game, which is great. And so it's almost an incentive to make you buy the DLC. So they do kind of get some money because you can still buy the games, the DLC for those games, the expansion packs and such like.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah, interesting. Okay, shall we, as we're already talking about it, go on to gaming this week?
Dream, but a reality.
Okay, so gaming this week. I think one thing might be a good thing to talk about is some of the announcements that came out of the developer thing with Microsoft, particularly the one that I actually noticed was Fable. Either of you are big Fable fans?
I didn't really play the other ones, but I'm always interested in anything that's going to be good. I don't care which system it's on. If it turns out to be a great game, I will dip in there and set up for like a 99p pass or whatever and give it a good blast for sure.
I'm in a position here where we covered this last week on our show. Never played a Fable game in my history. It's one that bypassed me. I was more of a PlayStation guy around that era, PlayStation 3 times, so never really dabbled with the 360 games. I think on paper, this looks like it could be really something special, where you've got 1,000 handcrafted NPCs that will all react differently to your character. The world will build around you. It'll change around what decisions your character makes. It looks beautiful. I think it has like a Hogwarts Legacy kind of art style to it, which I'm on board for. I thought Hogwarts Legacy was a great game in all fairness. But how many times have we been burned when someone said we're going to make 1,000 of this, and it turns out they're not. Like 999 them aren't very interesting. I'm looking at Starfield here with 1,000 planets, and 3 of them might have been interesting. But it has lofty ambitions from a company that no doubt make beautiful games, but they're all raced around the track in an open world with no NPCs, no third-person combat, no magic spells, no storylines, no decisions. This is lofty ambitions from them. But if they can pull it off, could be game of the year, this, if they can do it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely know that Steve's been looking forward to this game coming for years. So I've always been a big fan of Fable. Was not that big a fan of the first one, but certainly 2 and 3. They were great games. So it's nice to see that finally coming back to Xbox. But of course, it's now going to go straight to PlayStation as well, isn't it?
I guess that's down to development costs. It doesn't make commercial sense. It's like saying, making opening a restaurant and saying, men only, as opposed to like, you can't let the ladies in or whatever.
Did you see about that restaurant that was in, was it Australia, where if you were male, you paid a 20% tax on anything that you bought?
Well, that's I can't remember. It's discriminatory, isn't it? Really, that's discrimination.
Funnily enough, that restaurant closed down.
Well, yeah, because people won't go in. It's like you're taking the prices are probably too high to begin with, and then charging 20% on top as well. Nah.
Also, you can have a cup of tea in a jam jar.
Well, no.
I'm in. So Fable, gone PlayStation day one. Is Fable a game though that transcends those companies? Does our PlayStation gamers interested in playing Fable?
I think that if they play it, they will.
I mean, Forza sold well, didn't it, on the PlayStations? Forza sold very well.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget PlayStation. A lot of PlayStation owners were Xbox 360 owners, which
absolutely
is there for the Fable games. So I think a lot of them will look at it as a bit of nostalgia and go back to it.
Yeah, I think if anyone's got any sense to, and based on most people's pockets in any case, back in the old days, you picked one system and you generally stuck with it for many, many years. And the 360 was the better system at the time. So why wouldn't you go with the better system at the time? Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with flopping around from different systems. I mean, these days we are all spoiled. I mean, look at the price of a PlayStation 5. You could have bought one round Christmas, brand new, even from Amazon, 79 quid with a game. And that's the PlayStation 5. You couldn't even buy 32 gigabytes of DDR5 around Christmas for that price for building a PC. That, technically speaking, you could say they were almost giving it away.
So it's a great price.
It is amazing.
But it's a problem nowadays, though, isn't it? Because the whole sort of AI server farms and all of that, they've massively put up the price of RAM and storage. It's like I just bought a new NAS because I've had a two drive NAS for years and basically ran out of room. So I thought, okay, I'll get another NAS. So I'll get a 4-bay NAS. I've only got 2 hard drives in it at the moment. But the cost of the hard drives, 2 hard drives, only 8 gig, cost more than the NAS.
Yeah.
Substantially more, like 25% more. It's just utterly unreal. You go back a year ago, you could get like a 16 terabyte hard drive for 200, 240 quid. Now, 16 terabyte hard drive is going to cost you nearly 400
Yeah.
for one.
Just take a look and say something like, say, Camel, if you've ever heard of that website.
Oh,
You can stick in Amazon links onto that and it'll show you the genuine, it's not like an imagination thing where people often look backward and say, oh, I remember when that were 10 pence for that Mars bar or 5 pence back in my day. You look at that graph, it'll show you genuine up and downs and to where that price is. And you'll see it go like this at the moment, just taking an absolute hike all the way up like a steep mountain. And harking back to DDR5 again, you could buy a brand new set for probably 80 quid, maybe even less, maybe say 5-6 months ago. Whereas now it's literally 5 times the price.
Just get your guys' opinions. Do you think that will affect the next generation of like consoles? Will they be delayed? How
I think
expensive
it
will they
already
be?
has, because wasn't it Sony who said that they were delaying the release of the PlayStation by a year or something?
I think there was rumours about it, yeah.
I think it will, because, new consoles are normally loss leaders anyway, but I just can't see, Sony wanting to lose that much money on this hardware.
No, I can't particularly feel like there's a big urge. I mean, they've kind of killed off the PS4 to some degree, or they're trying to kill it off massively by no longer releasing the free games on that every month on PlayStation. I can't remember the name of it, Essentials to call it now, which is a bit unfair, really. Considering the PS4, if you can unlock them frame rates on some end games and make them run at 60 frames per second, they hold up perfectly well. It's only the 30 frames per second that holds the PlayStation or the older consoles back. And plus as well, my other bugbear with PlayStation is that, as you probably know, you can stream a PlayStation 5 game to your Portal, which has no hardware really inside it. It has no real major processor inside it. So why would they let you stream your PS5 games? For your PS4 users, they have to pay for the premium service to do it. I think that's a big swizz. I think that, it's very unfair, really.
I think you're right, because if you did that, then the payoff is you don't get it in 4K, you get it in HD.
Yeah, well, as long as as long as you've got a good stream going off, you won't complain. With a play. Technically speaking, most people will probably put the PlayStation 4 up in the bedroom if they could stream have the PS5 on the big TV or in their own gaming room or whatever, and then they'll be happy to pay for the premium service to stream the PS5 games to the PS4. So yeah, it's a Swiss. Xbox aren't like that. I think you could, up to a certain point, I think you could stream all your games from Game Pass were it to an Xbox 360. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure you could still do your streaming on an Xbox 360 from Game Pass.
Yeah, but you could also to like your iPad and stuff like that as well. But they seem to have got rid of or at least I don't know how to do it anymore, to stream to like the iPad from Xbox.
Well, if you want to do that, I use a separate app for the Steam Deck, which is not an official Sony one, and there's also one on the Steam Deck for Xbox as well, so you can stream your games and such like. So it's usually, I think it's called, the ones that I use are not called Moonlight, but I think if you're going to do it to your pad or whatever else, or your computer, I think they do one called Moonlight, or they used to do. That used to be the one to use for streaming on your Xbox and such like.
Yeah, but there used to be an app on the PlayStation that you could
Xbox, sorry,
that you could stream directly. You can, I think, stream on the PlayStation. Not that I've ever tried it, because I've obviously got a Portal. There's not much point, but obviously it is a bigger screen. So, because sometimes I would quite like to be able to stream my Xbox to my iPad and just play on a controller connected to my iPad.
Yeah,
you can.
I used to have them on Amazon. You could buy them. I had one years and years ago, and you literally can put a tablet in it, and it pulls out massively like this much, and you can put a tablet in there, and you can have like an 8 or a 9-inch screen. The only thing
I used to have one of them as well.
Yeah, only problem with them that I used to find were you get a bit of controller lag, and I had to sort of fix it by turning down the sensitivity in the games to like a really, really low setting, and it used to work better. If you had it on like the regular setting, when you sort of turned it, it turned like 3 times as much. But if you turned it down to the lowest setting, it'd be more in tune with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is fantastic. You're sat out in the back garden, chilling out, during the summer, great. Why not play some games in the garden? I mean, you're not likely to take your console down. I mean, some people might take the console down into the garden, but that's what your streaming's. I'll tell you what's a big swizz as well. I'm always into these things being a bit of a rip-off, right? You take your Steam Deck or your Portal, regardless of connections or anything like that, but you try and play that in the sunlight, nearly impossible. Them screens are not up to playing in the bright sunlight. It washes them out. You have to literally, if you sat on the beach or something like that, or round the pool on holiday, you have to put like a bloody towel over your head. You have to like create a tent to be able to play it, which doesn't look very good, on holiday, So, but that's one of the bad things about them being for the portable gaming, is that you can't really play them in bright sunlight.
Be interesting to see because have you got you've got the LCD Steam Deck, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got the LCD one now. I sold my OLED one because this wasn't using it enough. And sometimes I hook it up just to the TV. In any case, so it's a little bit like having, if you had an original Switch, there's no difference in hardware between the Switch 1 LCD and the Switch OLED, other than it does get better battery performance, etc. But other than that, the actual games play identically. So if you ever wanted to buy yourself a Nintendo and you want a Switch, you might as well buy the cheapest, nastiest LCD one that you can find. You don't even have to buy the dock. You can buy like a $9.99 thing from Amazon, so you can plug it in, go through the USB, so you can plug your power into it as well. And go like that way, you could probably have a Nintendo, get yourself like a controller, etc. Use like an old Pro controller, about 20 quid. And you could have, you could play all the good Nintendo games on that for sure. I mean, the Switch 2 is nice. I do like the bigger screen on it and such like. But I barely played it. It's a FOMO thing. I had to have one. Did I need it? I had to have one. That's the difference,
I have to admit, I managed to cut myself out from that FOMO thing with the Nintendo Switch 2, just because my son was getting one. So I thought, if anything, I could borrow his, but I've never once borrowed his Switch 2 to play any of the games.
It's nice to have a look at. You'd enjoy sort of like an half an hour, playing around, looking at the quality of the screen, maybe comparing it to your Portal, etc., just to see the hardware differences. I like doing that kind of thing for sure.
Yeah.
Switch 2 is nice. Yeah, still, because I've got a Legion Go, I feel like it feels like a bit of a toy in my hands still. Not as much as the Switch 1, that really does feel like a kid's toy these days. But I got my daughter one, so that was my excuse for having one in my household for Christmas. So, but I've barely touched that either. It just sits there looking nice. Loads of games still in the wrapper.
Yeah, they haven't really done themselves any favours with all these Switch 2 releases. There hasn't been anything that had to be on the Switch 2, perhaps other than Assassin's Creed Shadows, which you probably could. I mean, they've got all kinds of games working on the Switch 1. They can do some pretty good magic on that system. But the Switch 2, they haven't really released anything like you must buy. Like, they haven't released like the latest Zelda game or like the latest Mario game that is only for Switch 2. And until they do that, but they're only going to alienate a massive. It's a bit like not releasing a game. It's like Xbox now releasing games on PlayStation. That'll be almost as suicidal as not releasing it for Switch. The latest Zelda game, if they didn't release it on the Switch 1 and made it a Switch 2 only game, that'd be commercial madness.
I don't think that would drive up sales of the Switch 2 though.
Yeah, I think it'll go that way personally. I think it'll just be Switch 2 exclusive, looking like. You're right. Like, they have not done what they need to do for the Switch 2. There's one or two must buys, like Donkey Kong Bonanza, and then everything else is an upgrade of an older game, like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Even Mario Kart World Tour isn't the game. It's an alright Mario Kart, but it's far from the best Mario Kart. But they've just they have not provided to their buyers yet. You get a subpar Pokemon game every year and Donkey Kong, and that's it. There's nothing really on the horizon. Or Metroid, they've just got absolutely slated as old in it recently, and looks like an old GameCube game graphically. But Nintendo print their own money, so they can't do any wrong in Nintendo fans' eyes. They have the most blinkered fan base, Nintendo.
The co-host of the Old Show that I used to be on, Brian, he lives in Japan, and he actually says that the most popular console with all the kids over there is Nintendo. I'd have thought it'd been PlayStation, but Nintendo is by far the biggest seller over there. I'd have thought it'd been Sony. I thought Sony. I knew it wasn't Xbox. I knew that much because it's always been talked about how little sales they have in Japan, which is kind of understandable to some degree because they've always had Sony and they've always had Nintendo, but Nintendo is the system to have.
Yeah, I can imagine. But then again, when you look at the Switch 2 nowadays, it can run things like Cyberpunk and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it is nice that they can do all those kinds of games. And GOG, I mean, they released, what did they release on The Witcher on the original Switch, which they basically, it seemed like an impossibility, but they did it. You know, they did release it. It wasn't the best looking game. It did improve in frame rates in later revisions, etc. But it was quite an achievement just to even release it and to get it on there.
And it didn't look too bad on that system either. My understanding is that the Batman Arkham games were run quite dodgily on that system.
Arkham Knight was an absolute disaster on the Switch.
Yeah.
It didn't even run. It was a disaster. And it still doesn't really run after patches later.
Yeah, I can imagine that, because that is quite a graphically intensive game.
It ran at 30 frames per second on our last consoles, let alone on a Switch.
Yeah, but I mean, those are great games. You know,
Yeah.
they're the sort of ones, if you've got a Switch and they're available, you're going to be attracted to buy it, aren't you? Even if you've got it.
Well, the good thing is, like we mentioned before, the cross-save. Those are the guys that do the cross-saving. So you want to play your Witcher when you go away on holiday on your Switch, and you want to play your Cyberpunk, those big games, but you can play them and cross-save. That's what makes it worth double and triple and quadruple dipping.
Yeah, definitely. So, what have you been playing?
Oh, all sorts. No, not really. I've, like I said earlier, been committing to one game a week to try and clear off some of my backlog. So I started the year off with Stellar Blade, beginning of the first week of the year.
Good choice.
Give it a solid 5. Give it a solid 5 out of 10 in my review. So, Stellar Blade, you two both I've heard you both talk about Stellar Blade on your own shows anyway. So, I think it is a subpar Souls-like with a particularly attractive main character, particularly atrocious voice acting.
But yeah,
wasn't sure if it was a boy or a girl voicing the little female character that was your sidekick. What I wasn't sure. Still don't know. Decent combat for first 10 hours or so. Very fun. Last 10 hours, very fun. The middle bits when the open world sections came in was some of the worst open world sections of any game I've ever played. If it had stayed as a linear Souls-like game, I think I would have give it a higher score. Intrigued to know why you guys liked it more than me, to be honest with you, because it just didn't do it for me at all. I played it to the end and I'll never play it again.
I think maybe because it was a little bit more accessible in a Souls-like game. Other than a Souls game.
I think it's harder than your standard FromSoft Souls game, personally, because it's a bit jankier gameplay-wise, not quite as smooth as a Souls game. Like, sometimes I'd dodge or block and it wouldn't really register. I didn't really think it had the kind of feedback that a Souls game does that make them a bit... I know everyone says Souls games are hard, right? But they really aren't. They're not as tough as your mind makes them out to be once you click with its combat. And I'll play all my games on easy. I'll put Stellar Blade down to easy to finish it because the final boss was doing me head in. So, and I finished every Souls game. I couldn't finish Stellar Blade on normal.
I really liked it. Simply because of the easy mode, like I was saying before, the easy mode, it kept the content. I'm like, it's like stuff in my face at an all-you-can-eat buffet. The content just keeps going in and in and in and in and in. And all that, you want it to register, which is totally understandable. If you're playing it on a difficult mode, you want to make sure that the game's playing fair and by the rules. You don't want to be losing out to a boss just because it didn't register a click. But when you're playing it on easy mode, as you know, you can make more mistakes. And as long as you can button bash it, you'll make your way through a lot of them sorts of games. So that's the thing that you don't notice on easy mode, or I didn't notice on easy mode. But when you're playing it for real on the proper mode, like you were playing it on Ian, then yeah, I can understand. If you feel cheated by it, then yeah, it's not right. It should be better.
Yeah, I just think it had that whole Souls games have solid difficulty, but not where it comes to a point where it's overwhelming. Unless you play Sekiro, which is completely overwhelming. They don't make it harder by giving the bosses more health. It always seems like Souls games feel like they're on a level with you. Like, you hit him, you do a good chunk of damage, you think, oh, hold on, I can take that. I only need to get 10 good hits and I've done this boss. Some of Stellar Blade's bosses took me, 20 minutes, half an hour just to trickle their health down. I think just giving enemies more health to enhance difficulty is a real low ball effort, in my opinion.
It's a fantasy approach, isn't it?
It's like Destiny bullet sponges out there, or the Division.
Don't get me started on Destiny.
I used to love Destiny. Destiny 1, man, I was a big fan of Destiny 1. Couldn't get enough of it. But Destiny 2, they just changed it up just too much every time for me.
3,000 hours of Destiny 2. 3,000. Yeah. Just walked away recently.
Yeah, that's a lot of hours.
Next game.
I'd walk away from that many hours because I'd done half of that on Destiny 2 on the PC. That's not including Xbox and stuff like that and PlayStation versions. But even then, I found it really hard to just walk away. And, me and Steve used to play regularly. And I just one day said, no, I've had enough. I need to play other games because that's all I was playing. And it's like when you're doing a podcast, you can't just talk about Destiny every episode.
We did a Destiny special, Hayden, so I could get it off my chest. Next game's also a Souls-like. So second week of January, I finished Lords of the Fallen, played it in full co-op with my friend, my fellow Destiny friend, who also walked away from Destiny to play different games. Yeah, Lords of the Fallen, this is a rock-solid Souls like this. I thought it's just considerably better than Stellar Blade. Enjoyed it beginning to end. Personally thought it was considerably easier than a Souls game. But that probably because we played it in full co-op, which obviously the Souls games don't offer you at all. It was excellent. Paul, we chatted before the show. You played Lords of Fallen and enjoyed it. I couldn't recommend it more. This is probably the best Souls-like I've played, like going past Lies of P, Nova Spirit of Magnet, or Black Myth Wukong recently. I've never got away with Souls like, but this one really clicked. I think like it's dark fantasy setting really like clicked with me straight away. Its bosses were fun. It wasn't overly long or overly difficult. It just was a real nice experience for me and my mate to play like something different. Couldn't recommend it more. Give it a solid 8 out of 10. Lords of the Fallen.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to go back to it. Some of them games I've got off of, but when I did find, when I last played, I probably binged it for about 7 hours at that particular time. But it's just sometimes you just hard drop off, and all of a sudden you just don't want to go back to it. Do you? You've always got something else to play.
I think I've grinded the same enemy in the same spot for 7 hours up the straight at one point, Paul, just to get my levels up.
Yeah, that's sometimes what you got to do on them Souls-like games. That's one of the things that's built into them, the grind, really.
My next game was one that dropped on Game Pass mid-January. I don't know if you guys have played this, but it was Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Started on the Sunday, finished on the Friday, 25, 30 hours, I think. I gave this a 6 out of 10 because I think, like Stellar Blade, I think it starts really well. Its middle is a bit baggy, but then it ends really well. I liked a lot of the Star Wars cameos that weren't your typical Star Wars cameos, which I wasn't expecting to tell, working for Crimson Dawn, which I really liked. Well, I think this game got way more hate than it deserved. I know it was a part of the whole, it's woke nonsense crowd, it's a girl, and you're scared of girls, guys. Come on, it's fine.
It wasn't that. It was because they had... to quote, made her ugly.
Is she ugly?
I didn't think that the character in the game was that bad looking. But when you compare the character to the actual actress who played her, she was quite attractive looking. So, they sort of like made her a bit more plain in the actual game. It's like, because of this whole thing of, making it so that games represent more variety of people and stuff like that. For God's sake, get over yourselves. It's just a game.
Problem though as well, it had double hate because it's a Ubisoft game. It has instant hate because it's Ubisoft, which I kind of understand, but I don't subscribe to that because I like Ubisoft games in general. I like the way they play. I'd like more of the same, please. Thank you very much. But yeah, they do get a lot of instant hate. So many people. It should be like they shouldn't be allowed to even comment on these games if they haven't actually played them because it's totally unfair.
Well, I think one of the things nowadays is the whole review bombing that goes on because you'll get a group from the left or a group from the right who will hate bomb a game. So you had all of the left lot who were hate bombing like Stellar Blade because, it's like, yes, well, look, it's objectifying women and this, that, and the other. And it's like now, it's like they've made the character ugly. And so the right is now saying, no, it should be attractive people in games and so on. It's like, for God's sake, it's just a blooming game.
Well, that's the thing. It is a game. It's a piece of entertainment. And, I'm not a misogynist or anything like that, but it's just a game. Just enjoy it. It's a bit of fun. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. But I don't know. The problem is that some of these people even jump on these bandwagons aren't even gamers. Never mind anything else. It's just an absolute switch, really.
Yeah,
and people complaining.
It's all of your Karens and Kens.
Sadly, the current gaming community, it's kind of, we'll complain about games we've not even played, and that's how you get your clicks and your views. There's a lot more viewers of negative content than there is positive content. And that's just the state of the gaming communities at the moment. I think it's our age that are a bit more Or we'll just play games and enjoy them.
Well, we're kind of from an era of we're grateful as to where games stand at the moment. We've gone through all like you had the Atari 2600, the Commodore 64, the Spectrum. We're like a wow. If we'd have had this in our day, this would have been absolutely amazing. And we appreciate the gaming for how it's advanced, as opposed to just jumping on board because it's got a woman in it instead of a man character, and maybe they've been voiced by the wrong colour for that character. They voiced that to a different. Well, just get over it. Just play the game and enjoy it. I don't think they thought about it that much. Unfortunately, these companies have to think about it that much. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, I don't know. But I'm sure it adds to all the development costs and just makes games more expensive in the future.
I think you're right.
Yeah, you'd have told Hayden, Ian and Paul back in 1983 we could play a fully 3D open world Star Wars game. Little minds have exploded, wouldn't they, back then?
And if we showed
Absolutely.
the graphics that looked like the cutscenes in games at that time, and that was just the basic graphics now.
Yeah. I mean, it's you get into that point now where, you see older people, when you were a younger person, they say, well, when I were a lad, we used to have to do this and we used to have to do that. And it's the same now. We're in that age bracket now where you'll tell these young people, well, when I were a lad, we only had 8 colours on our computers. I mean, I only had so many blocks I could play with. It's that kind of thing, really. I mean, I wonder as well about the Fortnite guys, the Fortnite people, kids. I mean, are they ever going to be integrated into buying single player games? Is it ever going to be their thing? Is Fortnite going to kind of like starve us off in another 10 or 15 years' time? And developers never really going to develop all these single player games because the people that are still buying the games, which are probably the kids of today, is it just going to be more Fortnite? Is it all going to be like a Fortnite sort of focus, sort of like multiplayer online game?
Probably. I think that there will still always be that thing of a one-player game, and I think there was a recent survey where it said that most people still prefer a one-player game than a multiplayer. But it's like case in point, I'll use my son as the example. He's 18. He's most of the time grown up playing Roblox or Minecraft, which, I mean, Minecraft, but when I say to him, why don't you play like Assassin's Creed? Because he loves the look of the game. And he says, yeah, I might do. And then it's like, he never bothers. And it's sort of like, for God's sake, do you know what I mean? And I've tried to get him into Destiny as well. It's like saying, it's like you're always saying you want to have a game with us. And I hate playing against him because while I love him to bits, he is the world's loser. And he's an even worse winner. But to be fair, that's probably because, when he couldn't beat me, I used to tease him about it. So he's having it back now. I tried to get him to play Destiny, and it's sort of like, nah, I don't see the point in it. And it's
think that?
But you don't. But you play Roblox, and you don't see the point in Destiny.
You think Destiny would be like a grown-up Fortnite, wouldn't you, really?
Yeah, because you can play that player versus player, or you can play it.
There will always be games that transcend the multiplayer players. I used to work with a lad, great kid, but he only played Call of Duty and FIFA. That was it. Bought a new COD, bought a new FIFA every year. Elden Ring got him, and he loved Elden Ring for a good 6 months there. And I think there's always games that come out that kind of transcend the media and appeal to those multiplayer players. I think recently Expedition 33 was one of them. A lot of people dipped into and thought, oh, this is actually pretty good. I think Baldur's Gate 3 as well is one of those games.
Yeah.
Great games always get through to players that wouldn't normally play them.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think there's just enough. And then if enough people play it around you, then you start to get that FOMO thing. Because I get that FOMO thing every time that there is a goddamn Fallout game and then end up getting stuck in the scenery.
You've got to love the Bethesda jank, though. Well, I used to. Not so much Starfield, but
No, I've always hated it. The upside down flying backwards dragons on Skyrim.
But it's even the same with Oblivion, right? They've re-released it, and it's full of all the same bugs.
They painted it nice, Paul.
Yeah,
they didn't patch anything.
That's because, Paul, what they do at Bethesda's launch schedule is program, and then we go to the alpha, which then goes immediately gold and gets published. And then they then do the beta testing and then the final patching about in the next 2 or 3 years. That's what Bethesda do. I do not believe anybody who would say, no, I've been a Bethesda tester. Because if that's the case, I would say, well, you should be fired.
Yeah. They don't exist, do they?
No, they don't, because we are the testers. We download the games and then we tell them what's wrong with it.
They're as mythical as the dragons in the game, I think.
Yeah. There's rocking horse droppings that are more common than Bethesda testers. But
We tangented a little bit there, guys.
a little bit.
Battlefront and Star Wars Outlaws. Enjoyed its story, enjoyed its characters. I thought ND, the robot sidekick, was a great character. He was brilliant. Fun gameplay. Was a little bit janky. Thought the bike was awful. I enjoyed the space combat. I thought gunplay was serviceable at best. I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it was on Game Pass. I didn't pay for it and I finished it in a week. So
Yeah.
it was a fun game. Like we said, got a lot of grief online, and my next game got even more grief online that I finished literally 2 days ago. That was Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Yo, I hate that.
One of the most maligned games to come out in years.
I haven't tried it.
Oh, good God, Hayden, have I got some stuff to say about this game. No game is more heavily handed trying to force messages and opinions on a gamer as this game. Similar to Star Wars Outlaws, I fully enjoyed its first 10 hours, and I kind of enjoyed its last 5. It was the 40 hours in between full of absolute nonsense that just, oh my God. I actually can't believe I've sat here and I've finished it, because everything in that game is, you be the best you can be true to yourself. We work together as one big team. We bring out the best of each other. There is absolutely no negative replies to any conversation you can have from your character. I said on my own podcast, I actually despise my own character that I made, because the way she talks and the way she carries herself is either an uplifting comment as a comeback, like a slightly comedic comment, and like a neutral comment. Like, I play RPGs, I like to play the bad guy. I killed every single NPC in Fallout 3. If I can play as a bad guy, I'm going to do it. This one does not give you that choice. So it's not really an RPG. It is a point-to-point, very linear, with no real stakes, because it's kind of played out like an Avengers movie, with all the quips and all the lightheartedness and the big team-up moments, which some of them were alright, and the most vapid writing of any game I've ever played, and with some of the most hateable NPC companions. That I was glad they all died in the final quest, because I didn't do the side content, so most of them died. It was an absolute joyless, soulless experience.
Do you think that the writers then went on to write Wicked and Wicked Forever?
Fair, before playing it in, I'd heard of all the negative towards it. I thought, it can't be that bad. Outlaws got the same kind of grief. Comparing those two games is night and day. I don't think Outlaws forces anything on you. This one literally tells you how to feel about certain aspects of life.
Preachy.
It's honest, yeah, so preachy. The virtue signals, and honestly, like, it's okay, have a non-binary character in your game. That is absolutely fine. Nothing against it, but don't make being non-binary their entire personality, which it was. Like, one conversation starts with just sitting there going, I'm non-binary. Silence. Oh my God, what am I even witnessing here?
That doesn't add up.
I mean, it's appalling. It's appalling. It's the worst script of any game ever made.
Yeah.
It's such a shame as well.
70 quid.
Yeah.
70 quid I paid for it.
Dragon Age Inquisition was an excellent game. I love Dragon Age Inquisition. One of the best. Dragon Age, the Veilguard. I bought it second user for 30 quid and didn't play it for a while. And before I even knew it, it were out on PlayStation Essentials or whatever. So they give it away about 2 months after it came out. Yeah. And so I normally, if I paid 30 quid for it, I'll normally kind of play it and get it, finished, but I just couldn't finish it. And now you can probably pick it up brand new for about 12 quid.
Don't.
So
70 quid.
Yeah.
to suffer.
Well, yeah. 70 quid, think if you're doing your Game Pass at 2 quid a month, you could probably have Game Pass for the next 4 years for that.
I think this is where it really does sort of like benefit you to wait to play some of the games, and where things like Game Pass really do come in with the launch day one, because you can start playing a game that you might have bought and then think, nope, I'm glad I didn't buy that.
This is why I should have signed up for that Year Shame Challenge, Paul.
Yeah, but it's well worth doing. I would highly recommend. It's like going on a gaming diet. It's really good. It's like now I do prefer to play a game that's been well patched. And that might not happen for 4 months or so. So, yeah.
One of the best hair physics I've seen in a game. It looks amazing, and the character creator's fun. But that's it. That's all I've got. That's my positives.
I played it on easy, and there were no satisfaction to beating the baddies or anything.
Paul, you don't take any damage on
No.
easy. But
No.
on normal, they become super spongy. The enemies, it takes 40 minutes to fight a boss. So
Ugh.
I put it on story and just steamrolled the entire game.
I can honestly say that I've listened to other podcasts and they're genuine podcasters. They're in the UK, etc. And as a collective, they really enjoyed it. You know, I've listened to plenty of their opinions in the past, and I can agree with a lot of them. But I just, it's not like they play a lot of games I wouldn't play. They really liked it. Don't
But
know
how
why.
much were they paid by the devs to say that?
Well, this is true. I don't think they were, though. They're genuine sort of like, homegrown podcasters. But yeah, it's shocking, really.
I described it to my co-host as baby's first RPG. It's that light on content as an RPG. Yeah. So my next game hopefully will be better when I start it tomorrow, whatever it may be. On the side, I've been playing Ark Raiders with my friends, and I've been playing Repo. I don't know if you guys have heard of Repo.
I've heard of it.
Repo is a PC multiplayer game. It's only a £5, and so it is the best £5 I've ever spent on a game. Me and my missus have played it for 50 hours since Boxing Day when we started playing it. We play as little robot guys raiding a house for valuables and extracting them onto your van. And you have like a quote of the amount of money you need to make. But it is a game with the most comedic potential because your characters look so funny. Like, you have to hide from things in the house, and you spot your friend across the map hiding with his big eyes, his mouth wide open because the mouths move when they talk in the game, like they do in real life. It's pure comedy. Absolutely solid as a game, but we've never got past level 7. Me and my missus, and it's a roguelike, so you start from the beginning again. But as a multiplayer experience, it is one of the most fun games I think I've ever played. That and Ark Raiders. Ark Raiders is just an absolute total banger of a game. And that's me. Done.
Keep meaning to go to Ark Raiders.
Please.
Do you think it's the new Destiny?
Completely different experience. Every game of Ark Raiders is different. Every game of Destiny is exactly the same as what you experienced 5 minutes ago.
True.
The community and the a story my friend told me to do while we were playing. He loaded it with a map the other day. There's a guy playing a guitar on the extraction point, asking for handouts from other players. And so he was just surrounded by like stuff the other players had dropped him to take back to extraction. And those community moments in the game are incredible. I just stopped randomly mid-map today and talked to some Welsh guy that I'd come across. And I stopped him and said, "You're wearing the bad guy outfit." Like, he's like, "Oh, I'm new to the game." Like, "You wear that? Yeah, people immediately think you're going to aggro. So go change your outfit next time you load it." It is, again, emerging gameplay and moments is nothing like you've ever played. It's not Destiny. It is very much its own thing. And that's why it's got 400,000 concurrent players and Destiny's got 15,000.
Yeah, I must admit, I bought it as one of my first games after the Year of Shame challenge. I've only put about 3 to 5 hours into it. But what I will say is I generally play them sorts of games solo to begin with. And what I will say, even the solo experience, it's got the right atmosphere. Built fear playing it solo or getting some randoms. The randoms I did play with, I thought they were good. So yeah, it's a good game. It's one of them. It is good. The atmosphere is brilliant. I've only even played one map. The maps are pretty big, and there's a lot in that 30 minutes that it gives you or thereabouts. And there's a lot to do in them 30 minutes. It can seem quite overwhelming as well.
Have either of you tried Helldivers 2?
Yeah,
Yes.
I've got that. Excellent.
Many hours.
Good game.
Brilliant game.
I
Yeah.
tried the new, that the one that came out recently, was the last game around, so the Game Awards, the High Guard. I've played that this week. Played for an hour and uninstalled it. And it looks like 99% of its player base did the exact same thing, because it went from 100,000 players, 1,000 in one day. So not a good start that for a game.
No, definitely not.
No, they can live and die, can't they, within days, these games.
Concord.
Oh god, yeah. Because there was that, I've forgotten what the game was called, and I could see it in my head. The one that got closed down recently by...
Oh yeah, they briefly released that. They made it out to be the next big Destiny. It was just absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
Anthem.
Yeah.
yeah. And evidently the communities brought it back.
Right. Why? There's no content in it. I liked Anthem. There's absolutely nothing to do when you finish the game.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the game. But I think it's good that the community's done that, but it needs more development. Because I started playing that, and it's sort of like one of those ones of you really do have to go and do raids and stuff like that. But
There's only one raid added to the game.
Yeah, but you've got to keep doing it, haven't you?
Yeah, games like that live and die on content, don't they?
Yeah, and they just didn't produce the content for it.
Shit, it played really well. Like, the flying around as Iron Man was great, but
Yeah.
this lacked any kind of like follow-up or updates. It was a shame that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Paul, what have you been playing?
Well, I like my Souls-like games as well. And I seem to be playing a lot of Team Ninja games, not for particular any reason. It just seems to be they do a lot of good Souls-like games. I've been playing Rise of the Ronin, which is an open world Team Ninja game. So it's a little bit like Assassin's Creed, similar kind of thing. You know, you can climb on buildings, go around and such like. So it's Assassin's Creed Shadows almost. But this came out in 2023 and it does feel a bit more like a AA game in comparison to the Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is more like a AAA game. But the combat in it is much better. So yeah, it's a good game. Lots of big storylines to it, lots of missions to do. So I've been playing a bit more of that. I'm probably about 30 hours into it now, but I've been playing that for like over a year. But one good game that's come out, and which is a free demo, and it's quite a generous demo as well, is Neo 3, which is a very good Souls-like game. And the demo that's come out, it's about 10 to 12 hours, and it's available to play until about February the 14th. And that's an open world Dark Souls-like game. It's not as good as Lords of the Fallen, is in like that big sort of level. It's more like Neo 1 and 2, but with open world. And yeah, absolutely brilliant. Enjoying that at the moment. Been playing a bit of Divinity Original Sin 2. I have played it on PC quite a bit previously, but how can you say, I wanted to have the convenience of play. I actually bought it on GOG. And so as a player a GOG game on my Steam Deck and have to start all over again and put it under the TV and mess about, I just thought, you know, I'll just play it on PlayStation. And I've just done an upgrade on it to PlayStation 5. So it's gone from 30 frames to 60 frames, and they've upgraded the screen resolution as well. And as you probably know, that's by the guys that did Baldur's Gate 3. So it's an excellent game. I've just made it to like the second island. I'm just on the boat now, and I've just about to make it to the second island. And I played another game, which is like a Skyrim game. It's got the equivalent sort of jank, and I think it's almost designed to have that equivalent sort of jank. Now, this was just a demo. So it's like the 2-hour version of it, and that's Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. It's a $39.99 game. It's definitely a AA game. It's currently on sale for about $26.99. I played it for 2 hours, and I got to a particular point where it's like it tells you can go no further, etc. And I'll say I quite enjoyed it. I did want to see more, but I wouldn't be tempted in at $26.99, that's for sure. If it came available as part of PlayStation, you know, a network for free, then I would definitely play more. Or if it was like on a sale, say like in 12 months time for like say $7.99 or something, I'd say it's well worth say like $7.99, but I don't think I'd spend much more than that on it. But other than that, I've not been playing a lot else really.
Okay.
What you heard? You've been playing?
What have I been playing? I started playing Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. So obviously this is set in James Cameron's Avatar universe. The game doesn't follow the path of Jake Sully per se, but instead you play a member of the Na'vi who's brought up by humans. You know, there's a few of you who've been, you know, raised by humans rather than the Na'vi because you've been like exiled from a tribe or whatever. I kind of like skipped over that bit of the story because I wasn't really that interested. But the idea is that you're there to help the humans, but then when the events of the original Avatar take place, then you're left in suspended animation, and then you get revived when the humans come back. It's a very sort of typical Ubisoft open world games with some really nice sort of epic moments in the game. The environment of the game is definitely its crowning glory because the game environment is absolutely beautiful. You know, it's like they've really got a town with the design of the whole Pandora sort of world design. But what I did feel was the characters were a bit flat, and I just didn't care about them. I was just sort of like a bit meh, you know. I just could not get into it. So ultimately, it's not a bad game. It's just not a good game. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like very sort of somewhere between a 5 and a 7.
I've got 6 hours into this here, and I completely agree with you. Its characters the most forgettable characters. Gameplay is incredible. I think. I feel like the Far Cry games, its world is unbelievable. But as soon as they start talking, I'm like, oh, let's just switch off completely.
I just shut up. Let's get on with the game.
I got as far as I got past the main base that you get to, and then you got onto some like spaceship or something, or you had to go into like some base or something at some point, maybe like for 5 or 6 hours, similar. And I just dropped off it. I didn't feel anything for the characters. I've no affinity for the films. It's not like he's Star Wars themed or something. So, you know, you kind of pushed along a little bit by that. So yeah, like you say, it's a great looking game, but I don't care for the characters at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much how I felt about it as well, which I think is a shame, but I did only pick it up for like $12.99 on PC. So I wasn't too bothered about the fact. I mean, it gets mixed reviews now, but originally I think it had more positive. And then there is the Fire and Ash expansion, which I don't know how much that coincides with the events of the movie.
It's a lot of
but
few
with the
gameplay.
terrible acting.
Well,
Yeah, fair enough. Good comment. Good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been playing that. Another one that I played over the last month or so is I have always been a massive Hellblade fan. And then when Hellblade 2 came out, I just could not get into it. Now, obviously, Hellblade 2 is about, mental illness and stuff like that. And at the time when I was playing it, I was actually off work with depression and stuff like that. So maybe that was the reason why, it just didn't gel with me, because it was like playing with my mind a little bit too much. But I went back to it a few weeks back, and I just absolutely loved it. I think that the original Hellblade, obviously, with Senua's Sacrifice, you're going with Senua to free the soul of her husband or whatever. The graphics in the game are absolutely amazing. Even on the Switch version, they look really good. Because I do actually have it on the Switch, as well as the PC, as well as the PlayStation, as well as the Xbox. I've got it on every format, quadruple dipped on it. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is obviously a direct sequel to that, but to be honest, you don't need to have played the first one, although the voices that whisper, because this is the thing about Hellblade, is the voices in your head, because the game is about mental illness, and the voices that speak to you, and it's like, has she seen that? Should she turn around? Watch out, and all of these things are whispering in either the left or the right ear while you're playing it with your headphones on. And it's an amazing experience, because, you can sort of like feel where these unembodied voices, where the body would be around your head, sort of thing. And is often a good indication of where you're being attacked from as well. But this one, you're captured by, I wouldn't say Vikings, but something similar. And then your ship is wrecked and you end up on their island, and you've deliberately got yourself captured to be able to take out whoever's kidnapping people from your tribe. And then you end up finding out that there's these like massive god sort of creatures who are killing people. And the reason why they're stealing people from where you are and bringing it to the island is to fight off or be sacrificed to these gods, who are not actually gods, but they're massive characters, like 20, 30 stories high sort of thing. And you end up helping the people who you went originally to kill. And it's a great story. Really enjoyed the story. There's a lot of good dynamics with different characters and stuff like that. The combat is exactly the same as the previous one. So if you got away with the combat on the first one, you'll get away with the combat on the second one. Trying to think about how many hours it is. It's probably about 7 hours, 8 hours. So it's not a massively long game to play, but it is really enjoyable. So yeah, I had it on PlayStation, not on PlayStation, on Xbox, then I bought it on PC, on Steam to play it, so I could play it on my Steam Deck, and totally loved it the second time round, but I could not get into it the first. But yeah, there's lots of mythology and lore of this universe in there. The world is beautifully crafted. I mean, if you remember the original Hellblade, some of that stuff looked photorealistic. And there's similar concepts as well. Plus, there is the whole New Game Plus, where you get different challenges. And once you've completed the game, you can also replay some of the chapters, but have different voices talking in your head. So yeah, definitely worth a look. And it is on Game Pass as well, if you want to play it on there. So, you don't have to necessarily buy it, but I wanted to have it, as part of the collection, because one day it'll disappear out of Game Pass. But yeah, really, really good game. Definitely recommend it.
I played it. Yeah, I liked it too, but it's another one financial decisions that Microsoft made, didn't they? They bought the studio. I think I can't remember how many millions they paid for it, but it were a lot of millions for a studio that's only released 2 games.
We're never getting a third one either. This was a real weird release, Hellblade 2. I fell off this one here and quite badly. Love the first one because it's an incredible experience, a masterpiece. But when this one came out, even the creators were not happy with it. It looked like because it was a Game Pass exclusive, it was just thrown out there to die. They'd give up on it. It wasn't particularly optimized when it first came out. I think it was 30 frames a second, even on the new Xbox. And I remember that the developers put a tweet out saying, "Oh, like we're sorry, this isn't quite what we had in mind as our game, but we hope you enjoy it anyway." That's damage control before it's even been released. And I couldn't get away with the second one, like you said when you first started playing it. Couldn't get away with it. About 3 hours into it, I was like, it's just more of the same. It's just not quite as intriguing. But the first one's
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, once you go into the village, when you've when you've captured the slaver, and then you go into the village, and then shit goes down, that's when it starts to pick up. But that is the few hours in.
I've got to the section where you've been chased from the mountain by the giant.
Yeah.
And you just come out the other end of that, and then you go back into it underground or something to find something. I forget, because it was called very linear, wasn't it, and quite out there, but lovely idea of a game. I feel, but it's one of them, you like the idea of playing something more and you enjoy playing it. I got that with the second one of these.
Yeah, I the second time round I enjoyed it. So maybe you'd be the same. Maybe when you played it, it wasn't the right time, because there are times when you can have games that are like that. But for me, it was a second time round playing, and I don't know what drove me back to it other than, let's see if I can, I think it just got in my head, I want to try that again, and then it just clicked with me this time. So maybe it is one of those things if you have to go away from it, and then when you feel the urge, go back to it, and, all is good. But yeah, it's a nice, relatively easy sort of game. It's one of those ones, it's got those sort of like runestone things that you've got to go up to and then do it, and they're very well hidden. And I was really searching, and I think I missed probably about 10 in the first go round, so I'll have to go back through the game again and get it. But you can go into the levels that you've missed and find them that way. But I think the fact that they've done the new game plus and have changed it up with like different narration and stuff like that and new challenges makes it a bit better maybe the second time round when you go through it as well.
Maybe. I think that's a one and done though kind of game. Personally, I think you experience its story and enjoy it, and then would you go back and play it again? I'm not so sure.
Well, I completed Hellblade, the first one, 4 times.
Well, clearly you would then. The first one is incredible though. Can't knock it.
But I've never got all of those goddamn rooms.
I think I'm missing. That's the only achievement I don't have for it. The rooms one.
And I was missing one.
I think I was the same. One achievement from the full, and then he has one rune. But I wasn't going back through it again.
The thing is, and I know where that one was as well, because it was, where you had to align all of those symbols, but you had to go through the arches on the first one.
Yeah.
It
leads over a bridge when you've done it.
Yeah.
And
it was there. I missed one of them, because obviously you can tell on your wheel anyway, of all of the ones that you've done. But this one's also got another weird one where, as well as the rooms, there's also these trees that you've got to go up to, but they're hidden behind wall faces. So how there was the odd illusion where, there was a face in a wall and then it'd start talking to you. Well, there are loads of these built around the different levels. And if you go into that area, if you look at it and you press one of the buttons, I can't remember what it is, A or X or something, then it opens up a bit of the area that is otherwise walled off with a wall. And then you go in and then there's a tree in there, and then, you activate the tree and then it grows, and then it, is another one of these things to do. So they've like doubled down on that sort of thing, but there's probably about 15, 16 of them across the game. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back and new game plus it, I think. But I'm just having a bit of a rest from it, sort of at the moment. I'm finding it very difficult again to actually find games. Have either of you tried Where Winds Meet?
No, I've heard good things about it.
Yeah.
Didn't they get into some trouble though, because they were copying too much of another game or something? They get a little bit, like that Pokemon game that came out on Steam. It was named something quite similar, but it's still on there. I think they got into some trouble.
It's somewhere in between Ghost of Tsushima and Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Sounds like a good mix.
Yeah. But basically, it's an epic Wuxian open world adventure RPG set in China in the 10th century. You assume the role of a young swordsmaster as they embark on a journey to uncover the mysteries of their own identity. It's one of those sort of ones. You know, you let the wind carry you on your legend sort of thing. So like the wind's something that directs you in the game. I mean, it's a beautiful looking game.
Well, that's Ghost of Tsushima, though, isn't it? You get on your horse and you follow the wind.
Yeah, exactly. Although I'd be reversing up all the time if I followed my wind. But yeah, I started playing it, but it didn't quite have the grip for me. But I think that was because I was sort of like a bit played out because I'd been playing Ghosts of Yotei as well. So I thought, no, I don't want to start another very similar sort of game. But it's free. That's the operative thing. There's at the moment no purchases in the game. So this is totally free. Although there is going to be microtransactions similar to Destiny and stuff like that in the future. So, you know, it's definitely worth, you know, downloading to your PC. I think it's available on PlayStation, if I remember rightly. It's not supported on Steam Deck, though, so don't bother, you know, trying to play it on there, to be quite honest with you, because it's just not going to work at the moment. But, yeah, and, you know, there are people on there who've, like, played hundreds of hours and stuff like that on the game. And it's sort of like, you know, it's obviously got legs if people are playing it for that long. But it's like not your typical, you know, massively multiplayer online RPG.
It sounds interesting. It sounds to have all the elements, doesn't it? Of the sort of games that you would like, really, which is not a bad thing. But sometimes
have, the time gating like mobile games do, where you got to build something and then you have to wait like in game, like real time hours, like 24 hours for it to build in game before you can progress your mission. I think that's it. Like, I think that's its microtransaction system. It has cosmetics as well. That's it. Don't think there's any like game breaking pay to win stuff. It's all time gating and cosmetics, the paid transactions. I think I've had enough of samurai games personally after Ghost of Yotei.
I've not played that yet. I've still haven't finished the first one, and I'm still playing Rise of the Ronin, which is similar again, and Shadows, Assassin's Creed Shadows.
So many samurais.
Yeah, Shadows, I think they'll get
game that just won't end.
Yeah.
Literally.
They all have the same bright idea at the same time, don't they? All get green lit at the same time, and then 3 years later, they all just pop out at the same time. So it can be difficult, can't it, to play all these games.
I think that's called industrial espionage, to be quite honest.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, that's the best way, innit? Emulate each other or whatever it is. You know, that's how they're going to do it. Look at each other's successes. That's where the clever money is. Let's follow them.
Yeah, that's the current trend. Currently, samurai games, there's loads. It was like Wu-Tang Fallen Feathers as well, came out last year. There's just so many samurai games. Also, we're getting that, what's that? Onimusha, the old one that used to be on like PS2. That's coming out, isn't it, soon? The reboot of that.
Wu-Tang one, though, that's the one that's available on PlayStation, but not on Xbox, isn't it?
The free-to-play one you're on about is...
No, the one I'm on about, the one I was just describing, that is on Xbox, PlayStation.
Yeah, that's just PlayStation, yeah.
Yeah, it's not on Xbox at the moment. But the one where, you know, it's got the monkey.
Black Myth Wukong?
Yeah, that. The reason why that's not on Xbox is because I can't get it to work on the Xbox Series S.
It's on now, isn't it? It's on Xbox now, I believe. I'm sure it is.
I thought they were going to release it, but then they pulled out or something or other.
It's the same with Baldur's Gate 3. That's why that was delayed in the Xbox. They couldn't get it to work on the Series S, could they? Yeah, Black Myth Wukong's on Xbox now.
I generally play Baldur's Gate 3 on an Xbox Series S because I play it upstairs. And it's only 30 frames per second. But I generally you can make like a pseudo 60 frames per second and sort of like, you know, put smooth settings on your TV so it fills in all those frames. And it doesn't really matter. It'd be laggy on, say, playing Destiny, but it's not laggy on playing Baldur's Gate when it's a slow-paced game in any case. But it looks right, you know, the difference, because it's so juddery, 30 frames per second these days. You get that fake 60 frames per second in, and it works great.
Another game I played recently is Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Yeah, brilliant game.
Brilliant.
It's very much, it's like a puzzle action adventure sort of game. There's lots of puzzles in there. It's very linear in sort of its design. It tries to sort of like give a pseudo open world, but different parts of the world are locked off until you achieve certain things. So it's not really open world. But it's quite cutesy graphics, sort of like the Toy Story 2 Pixar kind of graphics for people and stuff like that, but with a touch of Nintendo and Disney sort of cutesiness thrown in. But
You're absolutely heaving, you, Hayden. This is a complete Studio Ghibli movie, this, in game form. You're a total heathen compared it to Pixar. Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, come on.
no, it is that sort of look. You know, when you think about like Andy in Toy Story, Anna looks very similar, but obviously female. In this game, but then you've got the rots, which are these like kind of like hacky sacks with ears and eyes is the best way to describe them. But yeah, and it's an interesting sort of premise of the game. You know, I really enjoyed playing that. This is the second time I've completed that, because I originally completed it on one platform and completed it on PC this time, so definitely worth a go.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I played it to the end. There's not many games I'll play to the end. Yeah, enjoyed it.
Yeah, good stuff.
It's not like I was saying it's welcome, is it? It's like 5 hours long, so it's just like really nice experience. So I like that in a game. So I'm thinking linear, quite short. It's like cleanse the palate a little bit after 200 hours of Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah, and you still got through it all.
Well, I played it on easy, and it took me 14 hours. So 5 hours, I couldn't do it in 5 hours. Even on easy mode, it'd be too much for me.
I'll tell you what, right? Kind of Bridge of Spirits on hard is harder than Elden Ring. It's brutal, honestly. I had to put it on easy myself, that game.
I did it in 9 hours and 9 hours and 50 minutes. So I think that's it. You know, to me, anything around about the 7 to 10 hours is like the sweet spot for this sort of game, because
Definitely.
it's not a AAA budget, but it's better than your average indie sort of game, much more involved. And that sort of timing for a game is perfect, because by the time you get to that, either you're completely involved with it like an Assassin's Creed, or you're wanting to move on to the next thing, and I was ready to move on to the next thing. But
It's
I
beautiful.
enjoyed the whole of the 9 hours and 50 minutes.
It's beautiful. Did any of you guys play Concrete Genie?
A little
PlayStation
bit.
exclusive.
That was the spray painting thing, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I played it a little bit because it were on PlayStation Essentials or whatever. It came as part of that.
It's similar vibes to kind of Bridge of Spirits. Beautiful game. It's like it's only available on PlayStation. They cancelled its PC launch because it wasn't very successful. But that is one of the most underrated games. You can play it on Essentials. I fully recommend it. Again, it's only about 4 or 5 hours long. It's absolutely beautiful. Really good. Really nice experience. That. It's a shame they cancel its like multi-platform release. And we'll never get a sequel because the studio doesn't exist anymore.
It's a shame there's so many good games out there that people never ever going to go back to and don't realise what they've got. They're too busy hunting like the latest and greatest when they've got an absolute treasure trove, you know, to play.
And I think this is going to be, we're going to lose more and more games in this sort of way, just because of the whole way that the industry's gone, with this thing of now, if you don't own your game, you own a license to play your game. Whereas before, when we had it physical, we had the game. You know, they could bar us off the console, but they couldn't stop us playing the game, because we could just get another console, create a new account and play the game because we already had it, or just play it offline. Whereas sort of like now, with everything being hooked up to your account, in your digital account, if you lose that, you know, that's gone.
Yeah, I mean, you could do something just like lose your email, or maybe even lose your phone and lose all those accesses, you know, like your, you know, to get you back into your account. I mean, I bet it's a real pain having to try to contact Steam to say, look, I've lost my phone, I've lost my email address, etc., and I can't get through these password systems. That could potentially be another way to lose your account as well.
Yeah, and you know, say to me, I've got like 2,000 games on mine. That'd be devastating.
Well, mentioning Steam, they were in the news this week or last week, or it's this week still, isn't it, because it's Sunday, about them being taken to court for people complaining that they're kind of like ring fencing, that if you buy a game on Steam, you have to buy the DLC on Steam, which seems perfectly logical to me. And what I will say is that the way it was reported on the BBC website, I mean, Gabe's not like a bad guy, the guy that owns the company. He doesn't seem to have any hate online about Gabe. Gabe's a good guy. That's how they always talk about him. I actually had a little look on Reddit where people were discussing this sort of thing, and nobody on there was hating on Gabe. They were all saying, well, what's the complaint? Why are they moaning about it? What's the big deal? This is all logical that if you just because you buy a game on Steam, you've got to buy the DLC on Steam. But technically, you don't even have to buy the DLC on Steam. You could buy your DLC on, say, loaded.com, which is a third-party key seller, and then attach your key to Steam. Of course, you've had to buy a Steam key, etc., but you don't have to go pay Steam prices necessarily. You can often go hunt down a key deal, to basically get it a bit cheaper. So
I kind of like know where it's coming from, though, because for me, who's like, I've got Destiny 2 on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. If I want to play the latest content, I've got to buy that content 3 times.
Yeah,
I think it's a bit hated.
I think it's a bit different from that. What they're saying, I mean, that's, that's a kind of a bit of a different thing, I think. That's a slightly different angle, I think, really, because, but yeah, I would like to think that's more a game company policy to some degree, really.
Yeah, it is.
As opposed to the platform, such as, say, Steam or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's another major swizz, is that you've got to buy there should be a discount for buying it, say, a third time, right? Or something along them lines. You shouldn't have to pay full price every time.
All right, different example. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, yeah? I have it on Xbox, PlayStation, PC. I had it on PC on the Ubisoft store, which is a devil's own problem to try and get working directly on the Steam Deck, even though the game plays on the Steam Deck. And I just got to the point of, whenever you had to reboot the operating system or reinstall the operating system or whatever on the deck and start messing about with settings and stuff like that, I thought, I can't be bothered with this anymore. So I just went and bought it on Steam, because then it just drags everything along with it, into that. And I think it would be nice if you already owned it on an online system like Ubisoft, like EA, that if you've got it on one, you've got it on them all.
Yeah, that's how it ideally should be, but they want to sell it to you 3 times.
Yeah, they do. Because they want to get money back on
Hayden's biting, clearly, 3 times.
Yeah, it's a great game. I mean, if you don't mind buying it and it comes out later on, say 12 months time, you double dip in, you pay like a third of the price, it's not so bad. But I mean, if you bought it 3 times on day one or within the first month, that would be an expensive scenario with that.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you'd pay £300 for the 3 different versions, because it was £100 for the Ultimate Edition. The version I've got, I've gone on to CD keys and bought it cheap, on different formats and stuff like that. So I'm not so hooked up about it. But it would have been nice to have just had to have bought the base game on the other format, and then I get the DLC because I've already got it.
Well, generally speaking, in any case, I mean, an interesting point is that when you download, let's pretend you didn't buy any DLC and they release the DLC. When you next try to play that game, there'll be an update, right? The DLC you're downloading, regardless of you owning the DLC, you're only unlocking that DLC by saying, I've paid for this. So yeah, they shouldn't really sort of unfairly charge you that, because there's no extra download, etc. It's all part generally of the next update, as opposed to when you go buy that DLC, it doesn't download anything extra. It's just going to put a flag on the system that says, yeah, he owns that now. He can play that area of the game. So it's a bit of a switch, yeah. The DLC potentially should be more multi-platform. The base game, perhaps, yeah, that should be, paid for it on each system, so everybody gets a chunk. Nintendo get their bit of the action, etc. But the DLC perhaps should be multi-platform as standard.
Yeah, I think it should be, but that's because I'm somebody who double dips.
Well, no, but it doesn't sound unreasonable, though, does it? You've bought into the base game. The DLC, you shouldn't have to pay for the DLC 3 times.
Yeah. Look, you say that, but if you buy Assassin's Creed on the Xbox, you then don't get access to that on the PlayStation and Steam. It's the same situation.
Yeah,
why should you be allowed to play it on every other console and only buy it once? At the end of the day, it's business, isn't it? It's how they make money. If you have a preferred platform, then that's up to you. If you want to buy it across all your systems, that's also up to you. Getting back to your original point, Paul, that whole court case against Steam is an absolute mess. Steam's one of the more, I think it's one of the better storefronts. You get some absolutely incredible deals, like games for £1, a game for 50 pence. Steam sales are amazing. And now they're going after them because they can't share DLC. Well, you have to go after Sony and Xbox after this because they do the exact same thing. If they set a precedent with it and Steam gets fined, which they absolutely will not get fined over this. It's a total joke, to be honest. Like, haven't the British government got something better to chase other than Steam?
Yeah, I mean, it does.
Sorry, go on.
It does seem like it's worth fighting for. I don't feel, I've never felt a sense of injustice ever buying anything or using Steam. I've never felt as if I was being ripped off. You know, I understood the rules and it makes perfect sense to me. I've never feel as if they've done anything bad.
No, I think that Steam, as you said, I think it is the best storefront, and they certainly give the best discounts on games. You know, it's like you look 6-7 weeks after a game has been released, it's very often quite cheap on the Steam front because, you know, this Valve know that game is not going to get the demand. So if we reduce the amount, then we'll get more demand on it. Whereas, you know, Xbox, PlayStation, you're still looking at it full price for months.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a real swizz as well. I mean, I'll just mention one other thing about Steam, which has gone out of my brain for 1 second. I'll come back to it. But on Xbox and PlayStation as well, the biggest swizz is that digital games, I know this is something to do with a deal that was signed many, many years ago. Digital games are more expensive than the physical game. You can't trade the digital game in. The physical game is often going to be cheaper. You can trade it in. You can sell it on. I can buy a second-hand game quite often, say, for 15 or 20 quid, and it still be 50 or 60 quid on PlayStation on the digital store. I know it's a deal that was designed originally because they were scared with the distributors back in the day when they started to release a lot of these digital things on PlayStation and such like, because they were saying, well, you're going to undercut us, right? You've got no distribution costs. You don't have to go sell it to a shop and they want their cut, etc. So there's no steps in it for Sony, really. You know what I mean? They're just like, well, you know, it comes straight off the shelf. It's like, it's been printed out, you know, it's like a 3D printer type thing. It's just shoveled at you. So yeah, but it's, they need to, if they get rid of physical discs, which is going to happen in a generation or two, if then prices don't come down, then that'll be an absolute travesty, really. They'd be too expensive.
Well, you know, I think you've hit a nail on the head there, because the reason because when the digital storefronts first came along, some of the games were a bit cheaper on there. And they used to say, well, yeah, because we don't have the costs, because we're not manufacturing the disc, we're not having to send it out, you know, get it to retailers and all this, that and the other. Now it has gone the other way, so that the physical retail release is actually cheaper than the digital version in a lot of places, most places, in a matter of fact, that still sell games. Like, you go to Argos, you're normally about a tenner less than what it is on the PlayStation store. Yeah. And why is it more expensive? Because exactly as you've said, the complaints were originally that the digital distribution is you upload a file to a server and you just keep selling the same file. Whereas you do physical, you've got to master the disc, you've got to design the cover and everything, you've got, you know, the stamp on the disc, you've then got to manufacture the discs, you've then got to distribute the discs, you know, and this is the modern day problem, is that they seem to think that we've all forgotten that we were scammed, basically, about the whole thing about physical media. They don't want it because they want to be able to kill stuff and then say, well, you don't own it.
Yep. And charge you. I mean, they would have a genuine monopoly on the market then. Without physical media, them stores are a monopoly. A total monopoly.
The same with movies as well, because, you know, I still collect physical movies. A lot of people don't nowadays, but I have OCD. I like to collect stuff. But the Netflix and Amazon Prime sort of, arena that we're in nowadays is we own, but we don't own. We rent access to a movie for a month, or a bunch of movies for a month, and then it goes. Whereas, you know, for not much more a month, I can get the equivalent of buying a movie and keeping it forever, or at least until the disc rot sets in. So, and the same with music, with CDs and records. We are giving away a lot of our autonomy for convenience when because I'm doing it at the moment. I'm ripping my purchased Blu-rays and putting them onto my NAS so I don't have to go for the disc.
Well, that's the best of both worlds. That's a choice that you should have.
Exactly. So, just putting my movie onto my NAS, and then if I want to watch a disc, I'll go and get the disc. So, if I think, well, I fancy watching Back to the Future, I've got that on Blu-ray and 4K. So if I don't want to watch it in the best quality, I just fancy just sticking it on for half an hour. Well, I'll just want it for half an hour, I'll do it on a NAS. No, I want to watch it and thoroughly enjoy it, I'll get the 4K out.
Yeah. It's not good digital only. If it's good, I mean, it clearly does work because Steam has been so successful. But Steam is also so reasonable at times as well. Sony aren't quite that reasonable, and Xbox aren't quite that reasonable. And Xbox, you can go buy third-party keys for some games. Sony games, no. I think you might be able to get. I mean, I don't even know if you can get some DLC. I think you better get DLC because often those codes are part of a game, aren't they? So they might sell the DLC code for them. But generally speaking, Sony's absolutely tied down.
No, Sony, you've got to buy like the prepaid cards on, like loaded or, was CD keys, in order to be able to buy anything on the Sony platform. But then, even then when you look at like loaded, you've got to really fish around in terms of getting the best cost on those cards, because I bought like £100 worth of credit for 86 quid. So I've got effectively £100, but it's costing me £86 to do it. And that's the way, in order to bring the price down of PlayStation Plus Premium, that's how I do it.
Yeah, well, it's almost, if you were going to spend 100 quid on digital games, 14 quid can be one good discounted game. 14 quid that you've seen, it's kind of like one free good game, potentially.
Yeah, but I think that Steam, gets the supporters because it doesn't take the mick, and it does such incredible value deals.
Yeah, and they've got a good ecosystem there as well. They've got the forums. You can go on there and chat about the game, the reviews. I don't think they probably do come along if someone's writing a load of rubbishy reviews. But one other thing about Steam, this is what we're going to come to actually. There's only one thing about Steam, and this is kind of fair but unfair. I mean, when I used to subscribe, I'll put it into context, I used to subscribe to YouTube Premium, but I'd only do it via India, because it cost me 139 rupees a month. Yeah, I'm not going to pay for somebody else's content, right? Because they want to put adverts in it. Only thing that YouTube are doing is serving it up to you. They haven't had to. There's no production costs for YouTube, so I don't see why anyone should have to pay for watching that with all the adverts and etc. And Steam will come down pretty heavily on you if you sign up and pretend you're in Mexico and places like that, because the games in Mexico, they are like by country prices. You'll take a look on some of these websites that will tell you, say, like Mexico, it's not always the cheapest place. It can be Venezuela or certain other countries like that. And they can be, say, like a third or less of the price than what you're paying for like the UK version or the USA release or whatever. And so, I mean, that's good and bad. You could say, well, Steam are doing a good thing for the people in Mexico because they can't afford these games and it has to be in line with their wages. I get the sentiment, but no, they don't like you. That's the only time I've ever heard Steam being sort of like a little bit authoritarian, slamming down the ban hammer on you. If you pretend you're in Mexico, then they'll come down on you and ban your account,
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, it's fair.
Xbox let you get away with that stuff. I use the Icelandic Xbox store to buy a lot of my games and can save, like, can be up to 40% cheaper.
Yeah.
And I can use my UK cards after make up any fake address. I just log into it like I normally would and just buy the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's, if you're prepared to go around, I mean, I'm all for saving money. I want it to be as cheap as humanly possible. I don't want to pay any more than what I have to. And yeah, that's the way to do it. If you can save 40%, what 40%?
Yeah, most people would.
Well, yeah, you'd be mad not to. I mean, your money is hard earned as it is. So why should you pay 40% more? I mean, I can imagine for a younger person, if, I'm sure we were all a bit more frivolous with our money back in the early days when you're like 20, you've got like, you've got a bit more money to spend or just throw around on rubbish. Perhaps if we was that age now, you've got like your credit card, you might be banging that buy button all the time in some of these digital PlayStation games at full price and never playing them. You know, I bet some people can rack up a right old credit card bill.
I think I'm more frivolous than my old age, to be honest, about stuff that I own. I'm much more frivolous. I just spending it on the pub back when I was 18.
Well, yeah, this is it. I mean, you throw it around like nobody's business. You might buy a shirt to go out or whatever else that's cost you more than it costs to go out. You wear it for 2 weeks and you buy another one or whatever else you're up to just to go out. But with games and stuff, I mean, if it doesn't matter if you triple dip and all the rest of it, if you buy them at the right prices, if you're buying them 12 months later at $4.99 after it's been released for 12 months, who cares? If a little bit of extra money goes back to the devs, who cares? But you begrudge paying $59.99. I wouldn't. It'd break my heart to pay $59.99 for it. But if you went on, you can go on the Sony store now. There's plenty of games on there right this very moment. They're from 2000 and whatever. That'll be full price, full price, and they're dog old.
Yeah, and yet if you went into CEX, you could pick them up for a few quid.
Yeah, or if you go on eBay, you'll pick it up on there, 12 quid, 8 quid. 7, and when you're bored of it, you can flog it.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't, this is where I think a lot of people need to stop thinking about the convenience of, just being able to not have to get up sometimes, because you do, if we lose the ability to have physical media, we have lost, because we're not, they can then start taking away our games whenever they like. And you think about stores like Microsoft and whatever have removed stuff from the servers. I mean, for example, a perfect example is, and it's a terrible game, but I've got the 2009 Star Trek game on PC, and I've just checked, I can still download that from Steam, but it's not on the store. I bet you probably wouldn't be able to do that on the Xbox store for some of the stuff, because they actually physically remove it. And they don't, and I'm sure it comes out with your downloads as well, which is what they said they would never do. Oh, who knows?
Well, they make a lot of promises, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Can I get me on here a second? Because I disagree with you a little bit. Like, I buy everything digital, movies, games, everything. And a lot of that is because I do not have the physical space to keep all of the games and movies that I would want to own in my home. I have a 6-year-old. I also like to collect gaming tats, so my little space is full of Funko Pops and action figures and life-size Destiny 2 gun replicas squeezed into a tiny box room.
Yeah,
Physically couldn't fit the games.
Switch your lights on.
Now imagine if you had all your Steam library physical, 2,000 games, you'd have to build an extension for it.
I would have part X'd a lot of those games.
This is the thing. Now you don't have to, because you just easy, click, download, done, play it, delete it when you're done. How many games do you reckon we have across the three of us on all of our digital accounts? Give us a rough number what you've all got, do you reckon?
I'm not too bad, but I've collected stuff by default because I've been a Sony member for so long. So all them free games are given over the years. I must have say, I'd probably give away, say, 4 games every month. So that's 40 times 10 at least. You know what I mean? So I've got at least 500 digital games just on PlayStation, and that's without really buying them. That's just being a member. And then there's all my Epic games, then there's all my Amazon Prime games, and there's all my GOG games and my Steam games. Maybe, I don't know, I'd say conservative. Mine's probably minuscule compared to you guys, but probably say 600 or 700, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've got about 900 games on Xbox, obviously over 2,000 on Steam. On GOG, probably about 500. On Epic, probably around about 1,000.
Yeah, see? So this is what I'm talking about. I've got similar numbers to you, Hayden. Like, I almost had like 53 games on Epic alone last year. I don't think I've ever bought a game on Epic. I just get free games.
But the thing is, if it was physical, you wouldn't have the free games. Or you would still have them, it would be digital. I'm talking about the games that you actually want to play that are not free. And that, you know, because there is a very distinct difference between shovelware that you get for free, you know, from...
I don't know how you dare. Shovelware? King of the gamer square, who loves shovelware, loves a pound game for 8,000 Gs. Don't you dare, Hayden. Don't you dare.
It's still shovelware.
Well, there might be a slightly fairer way of potentially putting it is, if you take a look at your catalogue, I bet you could decimate that based on the ones that you've actually finished and played. You know, you've actually maybe played at least 50% of it. You know, like most games, we don't finish, right? I mean, everyone, my base seems to be 30% on most games, you know. So if you've perhaps played more than 30%, I mean, all them games that you definitely have not played or you've only put on and looked at and says you'll play it later, if you whipped all them out of your catalogue, how many games have you really got? Because the rest are just a stamp collection, you know.
So that's the way too sensible a way of looking at it, Paul.
But it's the correct way of looking at it because you
It
wouldn't have bought
it
those.
is. I've got probably about 10% of my collection I've seen the loading screen of, I would say.
Well, yeah. Well, you might be able to turn around and say, well, if I took up then games that I have actually wanted or I have actually played, and would they fit in my space, then they might be more inclined to fit in your space, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you had to, click send me this game and then get sent a physical game in a box for, every free game that you get, then yeah, you would get totally overwhelmed.
It's swinging back to that we're kind of spoiled, aren't we, as older gamers? Because now we have the best of both worlds. We can collect the stuff that we love, have a nice shiny steelbook of a movie that we love, and then we can have 8,000 digital games that we might never click on.
I mean, it almost goes back to the days. I mean, there's no disrespect. I mean, the majority of Amiga owners or, ST owners back in the day, or Spectrum 64, whatever, a lot of their collection will have been piracy-based. PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, etc. It sort of died off because it wasn't so convenient to do. But a lot of it was just, you could load out your car boot or go to your local supplier or download them and burn them to a disc, however you used to do it. It was a stamp collection. It'd be a selection of games that you have that don't play. It's the same as your digital library. It's a similar mentality, really. It's like a piracy collection almost. You don't play them.
How many of us had a chipped PlayStation 1 back in the day?
Oh, 100%.
Did you not? Go get the little guy come out once a week with a suitcase of games, £3 a game, lad.
You didn't even.
I was working, so I was buying my games.
You didn't even have to chip it, back in the day. For example, if you booted up Ridge Racer, you used to be able to do it. You had the lid up. You could put a spring in the back.
Jam it in, yeah.
You'd have to rag off the disc as soon as it got to like the place, because that's the bit they couldn't copy was the bootloader, right? As soon as it got past, where it comes up, black screen, PSX or whatever, take the disc off, put your copy one on. Whoosh, then it'd load your copy one on because you got past the boot protection, basically.
Yeah, I remember it well. I had a job in 97, Hayden. Don't get on your high horse.
What?
I had a job in 97 of Sports Direct.
So, but yeah, there's a lot to be said for what we've got and what we actually play, for sure. But it's surprising. You dip back into that catalogue of games, you'd be surprised how many excellent games you've got. And it's a shame, not to play them, really. Someone slaved over them games.
God, yeah. Yeah. I mean, even just like looking at my Lego games on Steam, I've got like basically every Lego game ever on Steam, and a lot of them are really good, and I've like maybe played them for half an hour because they've come as part of a Humble Bundle or something or other like that.
Yeah,
good old Humble Bundle.
Yeah,
it's
all
a
of the
strange
games I've never played them. Well, I played them for half an hour each, but that's about it.
They're irresistibly priced, aren't they? That's the thing. They have got you irresistibly priced, and why not price sort of thing.
Totally.
Perhaps
Anyway.
there should be like a fine system in place for any game you download and don't play.
Like
they'd make more money, wouldn't they, if they charged you for the games you didn't play rather than the games you did play? They'd actually end up with more money.
I have to sell my missus
Yeah.
to pay for it.
So,
I'm a Colombian drug lord overnight just to pay off my gaming problem.
yeah, this is it. Well, the thing is, I mean, it's like you were saying, Ian. I mean, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I mean, I did when I was in my younger days, but I give all that up. But it's just a waste of money. And I don't think you drink to smoke, do you? Or very much or whatever.
I've never really. I used to smoke many years ago for about 10 years. The worst thing that I ever did was taking up smoking.
Yeah.
I've never really drunk.
I don't get much of a buzz out of drinking, and when I do drink, it's always something quite girly. Like I like, Advocate, and I like to make a snowball. I'll have a Baileys or whatever. I
have a glass of Baileys at Christmas every year, Paul. That's all I drink all year long.
Yeah, and it's nice, so isn't it? It's an enjoyable drink. I drink it because it tastes nice. I don't drink it to get drunk, if you know what I mean. It's because I enjoy the flavour. I like booze in desserts. I like boozy desserts, where it's sweet and alcoholic. I like them. But yeah, I mean, the money you can throw away on them sorts of things. I mean, look at price.
I don't we dare. Then we just waste it on games we don't play.
Well, it's a similar thing, I mean,
yeah,
if you went out and had an 8-hour drinking session, you'd have a hangover. If you play an 8-hour session on the game and you start till say 3 o'clock in the morning, you'll probably have a hangover the following morning. Your eyes will ache, you've got an headache, you know what I mean? You'll wake up all blurry-eyed. And it's surprising. It is a similar sort of thing. You get a gaming hangover.
Get you. Totally get you.
Yeah, totally. Just one of them things, isn't it? Anyway, I'm quite conscious because I know that Ian, you want to leave shortly so that you can say goodnight to your daughter and everything.
Yeah, I mean, she's not there yet.
Okay.
She's still up. Who knows what she's making her mother watch?
All right. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll skip the movies and TV section. I will just go straight to the listener questions because there's not that many that's in there anyway.
If that's okay with you guys, I don't mind. Just leaving
cool.
and let you guys get on with it. I've only watched one film myself anyway, so
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go to the listener questions.
John, what's happening to us?
Okay, so listener questions, and as always, we were kicking off with Mark. And Mark is asking us this time, his 2 questions. How long do you give a game before you know if you're going to enjoy it? And have they changed with age, or has that changed with age?
I'll say, generally speaking, it takes me it depends on the game. If it's like a big story adventure game, say like God of War, Ragnarok or something similar to that, it's going to take 2 to 3 hours to get into the game because you have to learn the controls. It sort of like slowly tells you the controls. And then after that, you're sort of like in the open world. So generally 2 to 3 hours for, even though I actually like a game. And one game I played recently, which was the Assassin's Creed Shadows, that took me 10 hours of even thinking all the way through it. Do I like it? Don't I like it? Do I like it? Don't like it? For some reason, it just didn't gel straight away. Perhaps it could have been because I was tired or something like that, but it took a while. But it has changed with age because the games have changed with age. Back in the day, ZX Spectrum game, it's going to be an arcade game or like a little bit of an adventure game. You have to be in it straight away almost because there isn't much to explain other than, figuring out the controls and that's about it really. You can't. But as the games have got newer and newer and newer and bigger and bigger and bigger, it takes longer and longer to get into them for sure for me.
I think it depends on the circumstances and on the game for me as well. If I'm playing something off Game Pass, I'll give it 10 minutes. And if I'm not feeling it, I'll just uninstall it because I haven't paid for it. It's just there. If I've bought a game and paid actual money for it, I'll probably give it 2-3 hours to see if I like it.
Do you not give it longer if it's like a AAA game or game?
No. I generally think I know my own taste well enough now that if something immediately springs out on me that I don't like, I'll just won't give it a chance. Even games that are quite highly thought of, I'll think, no, this isn't for me or all this. But I have been proven wrong. Some games I'll download a demo for it and give it like an hour and think, oh, I'll just buy this immediately, I think, because that's not my kind of thing. But I think when you get to a certain age, I think we know our tastes. And if I like something a bit different, like Balatro, did not think that was my kind of game. Now I've played it for 200 hours, 10 minutes into that game, I knew this has got me this. So I think I just know my own taste and what will click with me instantly. Yeah. Some games I wish I'd give up earlier. Dragon Age of Elgard, Strikes Again, Starfield. See, I know this is Steve's podcast. He's going to hate me for slagging off Starfield, isn't he? Well,
he always has me slagging off Bethesda. Although the other day when we did do the recording of the failed recording, I did say to him, and he didn't get it. I said, well, I started watching a new Fallout series and I got stuck in the furniture watching it. And I meant that as a positive because I wanted to watch it. But he thought I was taking the bait. It's the only time with on Fallout you actually do want to get stuck onto something.
Go ahead. So, you can answer it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I probably know in about the first hour whether or not it's going to have a hold. Sometimes that does stretch out a little bit. I think sometimes I go in with the expectation of, oh, this is the type of game I want to play. And then I can kind of like convince myself I'm enjoying it for maybe 4 or 5 hours and then I just suddenly stop playing it. And that's when I know I wasn't enjoying that.
I'll tell you what's a similar thing as well. What about when you watch a film trailer? Because I find if I watch a film trailer from beginning to end, I've seen the film. Do you watch a film trailer all the way through these days, or do you watch the first sort of 10 seconds until it grabs you and you think, oh yeah, I'd like to watch that. Don't tell me no more.
No, I can watch a movie knowing what the end is and still get equal enjoyment out.
I find the trailers are full of spoilers, man. It really wrecks my brain to watch a whole trailer. I know if I want to see it within the first 10, 15 seconds of that trailer, don't tell me the whole story,
Yeah. I think the one thing that does ruin it with trailers is where they put an innocent or a seemingly innocent clip from near the end of the movie in the trailer. And if you remember that clip and you're thinking, well, that's still to come.
Yeah.
But then they can be subversive, like Rogue One, where they had the bit where Jyn Erso was walking along that gangway and then a TIE fighter lifts up, but that wasn't in the movie. So, that they do sometimes either redo the bits of the movie or they deliberately do stuff to throw you off on the trailers.
Yeah, well, that's the best way to do it, because a film, man, you don't want to know bits of the plot before you get there. I enjoy rewatching films that I've seen before, so I know what's coming, but I'm watching it again because I enjoyed it, but I don't want a trailer to spoil the movie, That's the problem I find.
Yeah, okay. So the next question that Mark's got is, what was your favourite game to load up when you were a kid? He's saying he remembers having great matches with his brother on match day 2 on the ZX Spectrum, sharing a keyboard too, and then he says, have a great show. So thanks for that, Mark. So what about you guys? What were your favourite games as a kid?
So I have a core memory created by International Superstar Soccer Deluxe on the Super Nintendo that we used to play little tournaments at my friend's house, and it created an eternal rivalry, which is still ongoing, between me and my current co-host on my own show, Harry, and he's never got over a certain match that we had. And it's something I'll never forget. And this was 1994, I think this happened, and he still holds it against me now. So that by far, just because it will upset my current co-host. So yeah, any football game back in the day.
Yeah, I can remember lots of good memories. Sort of like on a Saturday, I used to have mates come round and we'd play from dinner to, lunchtime to about, say, 4 o'clock or something. They'd come round and we'd put on Football Manager. I wasn't a big football fan at the time, but the actual game was fantastic to play as a group. It was like a bit of a true multiplayer game because you had, you made decisions between yourselves about what you'd do as a manager. So it was a good experience back 83, 84. Well, and I used to play another good multiplayer game called Battle Cars, because back in the day on the Spectrum, there weren't very many multiplayer games initially. One of the first ones I think I ever played were probably one called Spy versus Spy, where you both had your own little separate screen. You could put bombs down, all the rest of it. That was a classic game back in the day.
Do you see me and Hayden go full fanboy there, Paul, when you said that? We both made the same orgasm face. Spy versus Spy 2 on the island. Absolute stone cold classic.
Yeah. There were games that we'll remember as kids that were part of gaming history. They're our first multiplayer games. The kids these days won't understand it, would they? But yeah, we're that sort of age now where we're talking, that's real history, really, Spy versus Spy. I remember it coming out. I used to read the magazines back in the day, like, say, CMVG or Computer Games Monthly or whatever. And a lot of these games would only come out on the Commodore 64 originally because they were American titles, and the Spectrum wasn't an American system, really. I think they had the Timex over there or something they called it. That was the equivalent. But it wasn't a big hitter like the Commodore 64. So it didn't make any commercial sense to these guys to release the games on a Spectrum. So yeah, I'd list over them games, looking at the graphics in the magazines, Spy versus Spy, looking nice full colour on the Commodore 64 and such, like an Atari 8-bits and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that were a big game to come to Spectrum back in the day. Fantastic.
Yeah, Spy versus Spy was absolutely class, and it was very much done in that sort of cartoony sort of style as well in the graphics.
Like Looney Tunes style, wasn't it? I loved Spy versus Spy. They did a remake then on the PlayStation 1. It just didn't work at all. But those classics, those classics in the Commodore 64. It's that kind of a precursor to stuff like Among Us now, which is basically similar setting traps for your friends. That's the original one of them, really.
Classic game. Another game they've just re-released, and it was a big game on the Amiga, and I really liked it on the Amiga, and that was Speedball, and they've just re-released it now. I looked a little bit on YouTube, and I didn't pay a great deal of attention, but I could almost tell straight away it didn't have that same magic about it. It just doesn't. It's not going to translate to the people today. You'll get nostalgia people buying it, but I don't think it'll take off in a big way. Say some of the other multiplayer games that are online.
It's lacking content by all accounts, because I was going to pick this up just for complete nostalgia, where it's got nothing content-wise, less content than the original had. That's another classic on the Amiga.
Yeah. I used to love bouncing it off the walls and it'd just go into the goal and you'd be 15, 12 and, you'd be getting the scores. It'd be a frantic, fun game. Classic.
Yeah, but we've lost a lot of classics that have never been modernised or modernised in a way that anybody's really took notice of, which I think is a shame.
There's a certain magic that you can't quite figure out sometimes. Is there? I mean, it can be a poor graphics, not very good sound, but for some reason it's got a certain amount of magic in it that makes you want to play it. You know, it can be so difficult to even like transferring games from one system to another. That magic can be lost somehow. You know, I mean, they're a little bit more one for one these days. But back in the day when you had a Spectrum equivalent of say a 64 game, it could be by a completely different team and it could look totally different, because the systems couldn't quite do the same the same sort of colours and scrolling and all the rest of it. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for the magic that sometimes you just can't retranslate. No matter how good the latest systems are, it just don't translate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, for me, growing up, the game that I used to play all of the time was Elite.
Yeah, massive game.
Yeah, and I used to play that over and over and over again. And that was, I think Elite was the first game I ever double dipped with, because my mum and dad bought me a Commodore 64. Then my Commodore 64 broke just before Christmas the next year. So they bought me an MSX.
Quite a
very different system. I think that I had about 4 games on it, one of which was Disc Warrior, which was rubbish. And then about a year later, I started doing computer studies at school. So my mum and dad bought me an Electron. I had my Commodore 64 back by this time, by the way. It was fixed because it was, as always, it was a power pack that went with them, because that's what always went with them. But they bought me an Electron, so I got Elite on the Spectrum, as well as having a Firebird version of it on the Commodore 64. And playing on that game on the Acorn Electron, you didn't have military lasers, because there wasn't enough memory on the Acorn Electron to program the difference between a pulse laser and a military laser, because there's only 22.5K on an Electron. There was like lots of bits that were missing in the game. And then when I got an Amiga, I then got the Amiga version of Elite. So I just ended up playing that for like a decade. And I used to be able to get to Anarchy planets, which, if you remember, were the ones where every time you'd do a little jump and then it'd be like attacked by a load of pirates, and then you'd do another little jump and it'd be attacked by a load of pirates. And I actually managed somehow to continuously keep getting there with just a front pulse laser and 3 missiles to Anarchy planets, which was incredibly hard to do. But, you know, that's how much I used to play it. And I used to, you know, the inbuilt missions, because there was 2 or 3 inbuilt missions in Elite as well, that you had to do, one of which was take on a Cobra Mark IV, because you were in a Cobra Mark III. So, yeah, I remember playing all of those, and they were great. And obviously Elite Dangerous now and Elite Dangerous Horizons massively exploded what that original game was like, but it was so addictive for me. Used to play it all the time. And the last version of Elite that I bought, because I got the PC version, and then I got the Acorn Archimedes version, because I had access to an Acorn Archimedes for a while. And that wasn't vector graphics, that was filled in graphics. But just very sort of like flat. So yeah, there were, you know, that was for me my childhood.
Absolutely. I mean, them games, the amount of hours you could spend on them, you know, I mean, and the thing, I mean, your phone these days, the things that your phone could do in comparison to the things we'd sit and play back in the day, it's phenomenal, really. At our age, we appreciate what we've got, you know. A kid will never understand. A 12-year-old kid that starts playing video games, or a 6-year-old or whatever, when they start to get properly interested in what they may be playing at, like, say, 12 or 14, you know, making maybe more choices, they'll never appreciate all the old stuff that came before. They'll never understand how good they've got it, you know.
No, they won't. No. Anyway, the last question is from, because we've only got one question from someone else. It's Craig Vaughan. And Craig, who's one of our community managers, said, what exactly needs to be done to rescue Star Trek and Star Wars franchises from their current ruts? Because we never actually talked about Star Trek Academy.
How long have we got?
Well,
he's sitting forward. For the benefit of those listening at home, he's unbuttoned his shirt, he's sat forward.
Yeah.
He's ready to go.
Yeah. Darth Kennedy has been overthrown. So I think that's going to be one of the most positive moves that has been needed to be done for quite some time. I mean,
But
I know,
what if they bring in someone really wokey?
well, they've brought in Dave Filoni, who was, what do you call it, George Lucas's protege. And he was responsible for the animated sort of like Star Wars stuff. Although he really didn't like Andor, and that was probably, that and Rogue One was probably the best of what
Oh,
Kennedy brought.
Rogue One's amazing.
Yeah. Have you seen Andor?
I've only seen about 3 or 4 episodes, but I keep meaning to go back.
Yeah, definitely go back to it because Andor's like probably the best TV series on that. I didn't mind Obi-Wan. You know, there were some really good bits in that, but I think that unfortunately Leia spoiled it, the whole Leia storyline. They could have done something different. And plus the fact they've got the most annoying child to do it as well. The Acolyte was a train crash at light speed. There's been the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs had a less of an impact than that did in a negative way. Yeah, but I think The Mandalorian was good, enjoyable. I'm looking forward to the new Mandalorian film. But I think what they need to do is, for Star Wars, get Sebastian Stan to be Luke Skywalker, get Carrie Fisher's daughter to take the role as Leia, get somebody, not whatever his name is from the Han Solo movie, but get somebody who actually looks like Harrison Ford to play a younger Han Solo, reset the timeline, get rid of episodes 7, 8, and 9. Sorry, Ian. I know that one of your favourites is
Just because I like The Last Jedi.
The crap Jedi, not The Last Jedi.
It's an insult.
Oh, don't you start as well, Paul.
Get rid of that whole timeline and redo it, but have it as the Timothy Zahn books are there to the Empire and lean into the Star Wars Legends stuff properly.
I mean, I don't like to disagree with you here. I mean, I say that, I really do like to disagree with you. I think it's time to move away from the Skywalkers, Darth Vader, the Emperor, and maybe do something fresh.
But it's certainly not time to move towards the Rey Skywalker.
No, I think you need to stop homaging all those old movies just for pure fan service and make something new and fun and original. And but they've got no ideas, Hayden. They've got nothing up top to make up something new, fun and original. Just rehash old stuff over and over again.
They don't need to make up new and original because it's already been done in the books.
It has, but it's the same characters again, and they won't pull it off like they do in the books. And you know this as well as I do. They won't pull it off. Like, give someone a blank slate, go make a Star Wars film. You know what, right? I know those Rebel Moon movies are absolutely awful, but they were going to be Star Wars movies originally, weren't they? With stormtroopers and Jedis and stuff in them.
No, they were going to take on the Star Wars. That's what they reckon.
No. Snyder wrote it as a Star Wars movie. It's called Rebel Moon. It's the biggest dig of all time in a title towards being canned as a Star Wars film. But at least that would have been a different take of a Star Wars movie with completely new characters, completely new lore. Just start fresh. Like, it's all been done. Too many movies, too many series. The majority of Star Wars content these days is bad. There's very little good.
Is go back in and explore like the Shadows of the Empire, the Knights of the Old Republic sort of era.
Yeah, they could do that. Definitely, that's something they haven't really touched on. To have all new characters in there, but with like a base lore-wise, haven't they? They could definitely do that.
And as for Star Trek,
just shoot it. It's dead.
End Star Trek Academy on episode 5, because that's enough. Thank you very much. But I think the problem with Star Trek is Kurtzman, because he doesn't understand Star Trek. He has no respect for the history of Star Trek. I think another issue as well is there's a lot of people who sort of like have latched onto Star Trek as an ideology, but don't understand the ideology and think it's slightly different to what it is. So I do think Star Trek needs to go more pure, but not to the point of having to make it so it's like homework. You know, you've got to watch God knows how many series of different Star Treks in order to be able to watch it. It needs to be accessible. So I think just, you know, the true and tried formula of the original shows, Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, all of that, it works. That's what people want. So just give them what they want. And at the end of the day, they're trying to get this new crowd of Star Trek fans. Let the Star Trek fans sort out the new crowd, because we will assimilate them. Just forget, just stop trying to chase a group of woke individuals who don't care.
I think you might be fortunate in some respects because all this, I'm not saying all this wokeness has passed, but it's kind of been and gone to some degree. So whatever's going to get greenlit, say today, is not going to be as wokey as any of this stuff from 3 years ago. All these stuff that's coming out now, that Star Trek Academy, it'll be greenlit. I don't know how far you'd have to go back on the internet to figure it out, but it might have only been greenlit, say, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So when that happened, this was what was the fresh big idea. So we're getting a 3-year-old idea, really. So if someone were greenlit today, it might be more politically charged, a bit more Trump-esque, or, about all these ICE agents going around and getting rid of immigrants and blah, 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 like they seem to be on the news at the moment. It might, whatever they're greenlit today, probably is an image of what's happening today.
Well, what Star Trek does best is takes a modern day and does a mirror reflection of it. So what they could do is they could do that sort of like ICE agent thing where maybe the Federation went in the wrong direction. And they sort of like touched on it a little bit in some bits of Picard, where Picard was seen as a very much more negative character than he ever was in the original. It was like godly in the Next Generation in the movies, whereas, people were a bit, you were a bit irresponsible. You kept taking people into danger. You kept destroying the ship, like that in Picard. So I think that, I think they just need to step back and go back to what the roots of Star Trek was about, because it was about, going forward, people working together, overcoming differences, exploring the universe, that sort of stuff. Whereas now it's just, some of it is a bit preachy. And the perfect example is, there's a lot of wokeism still in Academy. That's not to say it's not enjoyable in parts, but I think that there is just a lack of understanding of the history of Star Trek. I mean, it's like the most recent episode where the character Jaden, who's a Klingon, cries. It was established in Star Trek 6 very clearly, Klingons don't cry because they have no tear ducts. So how could he cry?
Yeah, there's no respect for the history, is there?
Yeah, and this is the thing, is that Star Trek fans are really nerdy about it. And if you've ever listened to my Picard episodes when I did season 1, you'll realise just how nerdy I really can get on Star Trek. So yeah, I just think they need to go back to what the fans want. And the fans at the moment want Star Trek with Seven of Nine as the captain of the Enterprise G. That's what people have asked for. The Metalis series last season of Picard was great. And it wasn't just because it was Next Generation crew. So,
yeah, they need to, like you say, respect the history. And it's not as if all the original Star Trek people that watched the original show have all passed away or anything, and it's time for like the new crowd. There's still plenty of the older people that would still want to watch it. And you kind of alienate in both areas, aren't you? If the young kids don't latch onto it, well, the other fans at the other end of the spectrum, they're not going to latch onto it either. And so it's a total failure because it's trying to meet in the middle and it's pleasing nobody.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And it's alienating the dedicated fans, and it's not attracting the new fans. So whatever they're doing isn't working. So they need to do something different. And for years, appealing to the original fans worked because it brought new fans on, because people talk about stuff and they bring them on. They will be assimilated.
Another thing as well, like you say, I mean, that's the word is correct, assimilated, because if you sit down to watch it, you might sit down to watch it as it's a family show, right? So you'd sit down and watch it with the family. So yeah, it's a sort of thing. It's sort of like, and you can ask the people that are interested in the show a little bit more about the history. It's a family show. And they don't have to, they don't have to really change it for anybody. It's just the family will sit down and watch it together. It's like you could watch it with granddad, you can watch it with dad, you could watch it with son, or daughter or whatever, the ladies are allowed to watch it as well. But, it's a family show for everybody, really.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't think it even aims to offend, not to offend, how can you say, it's not graphically violent, is it either?
No.
It's kind of like it's a safe watch in general.
But what it has done, and it has done for years, right since Plato's Stepchildren with their supposed first interracial kiss, which wasn't actually the first interracial kiss on TV, it's pushed boundaries. But it's pushed boundaries in a kind of like respectful, not quite as in your face sort of way as some of the modern tripe that we have on nowadays, including Star Trek Academy, unfortunately. But that's how the original series did it, and it was better that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Star Trek mega fan. One of my very, very favourite films of all time, top 3, is Star Trek Wrath of Khan. I love that film. I think it's the best film ever, right? Even that Empire Strikes Back and that would, it's like first, second. But what I will say, I only watched one episode of Star Trek Academy, and I felt like they were doing insulting things, like the way like the captain just sat in the chair. I thought that was embarrassingly disrespectful. That reminded me, I know you're a fan of the film, Ian, the Star Trek one with Leia flying around like Mary Poppins.
Big fan.
I felt insulted watching that film, even from like the first 5 minutes. Some of the comedy parts I tried to put in, it's like the guy in the suit, he gets electrified. I can't remember what even happens. I've tried to forget it all. And, he like gets electrified. And it's like, it were insulting. It were like Carry On Star Wars, like a Carry On movie. They just got it all wrong.
Yeah.
Just totally wrong.
Yeah.
Totally wrong.
But I don't think it's Star Trek made for fans. I think it's Star Trek made for trying to get teenagers into Star Trek.
Yeah, it's Star Trek. It's, what's that High School Musical? Star Trek High School Musical, I'm sure they'll be doing they'll be doing a theatre show or something, a singing and dancing thing. I bet there's some kind of acting show that goes off,
It's Star Trek meets Glee in Beverly Hills 90210.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't offended by it, but I didn't like it. I could see where all the insults were.
And don't you think as well that the Klingon, was it Jaden? Why does he have such a ridiculous voice? Because he's like about 5 octaves lower than his voice ever should be, and he has to talk because his voice is so low. He has to talk really slow. He almost sounds like he's got a learning disorder when he talks. Why? Why have they done that? It's awful. Instead of just having him with like, maybe a bit more deep voice like that. Instead, he's like many, many octaves lower. And it's just sort of like, why? It doesn't make him more Klingon. It just makes him sound stupid. And shame is, he's actually my favourite character in the whole lot.
Even the main bad guy. They all seem like caricature shows, like as if they're trying to be funny. Like as if they're trying to be like a funny version of past characters.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a top actor as well, isn't he, the guy? I can't remember his name, but he's been in lots of films, the main bad guy. He's like Oscar-worthy films and such like,
I do think it was nice to see the Doctor back, Robert Picardo.
It's somewhat for the old ones, isn't it? That's what he's there for.
Yeah, and to be honest, there is lots of stuff about Star Trek history in the show, but they get some of the most fundamental facts wrong. And that's unforgivable for a Star Trek show.
I mean, would you say let's pretend that they'll knock out 4 or 5 amazing episodes next. Could they never change your mind on that? Is it just not, it's just, they've spoiled it from like, like within the first 10 minutes, it just won't go. The first half an episode, it just wasn't going to be good.
They'd have to get rid of the Chancellor because how she sits in the captain's chair is just so
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Because she lounges in it. It's, if you know what I mean, Ian, imagine that you've got a sofa, and it's not a sofa, an armchair. And instead of sitting in the armchair straight, you sit at 90 degrees to the angle that you would, so that your legs and your head are draping over the arms. And that's how she sits in the captain's chair. And it's not like she's got... No, that's not how a Starfleet captain acts.
She's chilling in it. I saw some images of it. I saw some images of it, and it reminded me of Zach Brannigan from Futurama. The really inept.
Yeah,
if you've watched Futurama,
Brannigan seems a lot more competent.
I haven't watched Star Trek since Star Trek Voyager, so I'm not one to comment on the more recent shows. But Star Trek used to be about like discovery and adventures with like a different crew for a different season.
Yeah,
like Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Next Generation. Like interesting characters. How did they get, as guys who watch Star Trek, how did they get so far away from those core values? And you said earlier, Hayden, that they always had, like, they actually did hit on different, like, themes in those old seasons. Like, we had an all-female kissing scene in Deep Space Nine in the mid-90s, which was rare. And it wasn't forced, and it wasn't weird. It was like love, wasn't, between two characters. I remember it.
It was Dax
Yeah,
met Dax's ex-wife.
that's right. You remember the scene, and it worked. It was a nice scene, a nice moment between two characters. But now everything's forced onto us, isn't it? And everybody wants to give us our own opinions when that isn't what TV should be doing. It should be entertaining us.
I think the thing is that the way Star Trek used to get it right, and it doesn't get it right now, is it just used to present it, but it didn't tell us what to think about it.
Hoover, original Star Trek, main black character in a sci-fi show on the bridge. Like, what? When did Star Trek 60s, 70s? Best Star Trek?
Yeah, I mean,
It wasn't forced
all of
anybody.
that.
It was just there.
And I mean, I always remember on the original Star Trek, there is an episode where Abraham Lincoln ends up on the bridge of the Enterprise. Just, it's like an alien construct of Abraham Lincoln. And he turns around and he looks at Uhura and goes, "Oh my, what a charming," and then, shall we say, knee, and then ends the word with "gress" in that statement. Yeah, I'm just doing that so that we don't get delisted by YouTube.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
Combine those two different words into one, and that's what he says. And Uhura turns around and, she's a bit momentarily startled and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, have I said something wrong?" She says, "No, because we're not fearful of words. We've evolved to the point where we're not fearful of words." And I thought, yeah, that is an example of, like, Gene Roddenberry's vision of, of the future for us. But you look at The Next Generation. The Next Generation, one of the episodes tackled child abuse because it was an episode that was about a child who was human, who, for whatever reason, was abandoned on this planet and was brought up by aliens. But the aliens had a culture that we would consider to be more domestic violence. And this child wanted to stay with the aliens rather than their own family that they didn't know because they'd been living with them for whatever amount of years. But that is basically an episode about child abuse. Star Trek 6 is not about the Klingon Empire falling. Star Trek 6 is about the crumbling of the Russian Empire, because that's what it is. It's just to rebadge them, the Russians, Klingons, and then made that whole story about Praxis and stuff like that. But that was really about Glasnost. So Star Trek does this sort of stuff all of the time. I mean, it's like one of the last episodes of the original series was Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, which is all about racial discrimination. And what is striking about that episode is there's the guy who played the Joker on the Adam West Batman episodes. He's got, like, half of his face is white and the other half is black, but he's chasing somebody whose one side of the face is black and one side of the face is white, but it's the opposite way around. And that is an episode about discrimination. And that's the way that they used to do it. Now it's just so in your face and it's telling you what you should think. Whereas it just showed the character's natural evolution about everything and that. And they just don't do that. They just don't have the intelligence in the writing anymore.
They're trying to project their models onto other people, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And that's the problem. But Star Trek never used to preach to you what you should think. It used to lead you to a conclusion or let you understand both sides quite often, and then let you make your own mind up about it. But they've lost that.
I'm going to have to call it night, guys. My daughter's angling to go to bed.
No, that's fine.
Am I okay, Bill?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Do you want to just give your sign off before you go and give your
quickly
plug again?
Guys, Game Generations podcast, no doubt we'll have Hayden on in a future episode. He's always likes to make a guest appearance and criticise my co-hosts. Paul, you're welcome too, buddy. Really, real joy.
You.
Really nice to come on and do a podcast with you after listening to your show for a year. And then here you are. Always a pleasure, guys. It's been a really fun night.
Yeah.
Lots of tangent in there. We've gone off course so many times. It's been a great show. Just thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, been nice having you. And and I don't take the mick out of your co-hosts.
Come on.
Nah,
We'll see.
It's
We'll
friendly banter.
see. It is. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Again,
Okay.
pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Take
Take care,
care, Ian.
boys. Bye, everybody.
See you, mate. Bye.
Okay, so it's you and me left now. So so we might as well call it a night because it has been a few hours, hasn't it? A bit longer than I was expecting, actually. But it's been good, good conversation. How have you, now that we've actually got one recorded, how would you do you feel about that for your first one down? Is it what you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good. I always enjoy the conversation, and it's good, with we're all so into it that you can tangent off of different things and still be understanding of where the other person's gone, really. So yeah, it's fantastic. It expands the brain a little bit, and talking about gaming, it gets it off your chest, like Ian was saying. Sometimes, a lot of the time, our idea of going out might be playing a game, or we don't go to I don't go to the theatre that often, or go to the cinema that often. I haven't got a decent cinema near me, unfortunately. I like a big screen. I'm an old-fashioned big screen. I don't want to go watch some little 5-screen thing with the little screens. It's a bit pointless. I don't think that's right, really. So yeah, it's great to talk about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us anyway. It's been great having you on the show again, even though for everybody else this will be your first time because we had that failure recording at the last time. Do you want to give any contact details or anything?
Well, generally speaking, if you want to contact us or whatever, you can always contact us through the Facebook group.
Yeah. And if you want to get in contact with me, then you just need to go to Twitter at HERJUK, or you can catch me on Xbox, on Steam, on PlayStation, all of which would be on HERJ UK as well. But if you want to get us on Epic, then you would need to go to Pop Culture Gamers, be there. Also, don't forget you can email the show, which is podcast@popculturegamers.co.uk. Don't forget we have our Facebook group, as Paul has just mentioned as well. And not only that, but we've also got our Facebook page as well, though that one doesn't get updated quite as much because the main area is the group. So thank you for tonight, Paul. It was great. Hopefully Steve will be on with us next time. And other than that, it's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from me. Thank you very much.
Good night, guys.